Welcome to the show. For anyone who's around early, should have really prepped something beforehand because people tend not to come to these things, well, period, much less in the very beginning. And I'm glad for that, given how often I fuck these things up and my phone decides to beep right about at this time. So, without further ado, I want to introduce this concept out there because it seems, even if a lot of people don't watch live, they come back around for my streams for some crazy reason. So let me start off by thanking everyone who left a comment on my video. You're exactly proving my point of what I was trying to say. And that is the simple fact that the sort of rhetoric that can be found in MauLer, MauLer's Disney. Sorry, Disney can't grow up. Star Wars can't grow up. So we'll just go right into the comment section to sort of see how they prove the point. I would like to do chronologically, but let me hit the sort of edit of the stream I did first because it inspired me to make this. Plus, I really didn't have any other I didn't have any other ideas of what to stream on this week, and I'm trying to do one stream a week. Might take that down. Don't see anyone around to advocate for these idiotic comments or even MauLer here, so such a beautiful thing. Memes and we'll see instead of logic. Yeah, you don't need to see my little PFP for this. Oh, so this is the one that inspired me because it just takes the cake for being dumb. Some dumb name that I'm not even gonna bother pronounce. Quoting, poorly made video essays are distasteful to me. Quoting John, get the fuck, Kramer. Okay, must be a reference I don't get. Meta knowledge. I replied, this comment's retarded, Vincent Martin. Lock balls, all such brain dead comment. Gets such brain dead comments, getting likes sort of proves most of the points that I made in this edit from a stream. Since you're probably too dumb to understand, let me clarify what I mean by that. Fanboys and simps of EFAP / MauLer are just as dumb as any fanboy or simps from Synthetic Man or Hassan. So, prove me to be true. I'm glad of that. So, thankful to you for all of those things. Fanboys and simps of. Okay, said it already. Only much dumber. At least Synthetic Man fans tried to make an argument despite how dumb they are. The only thing you bozos can do is meme and dislike. And then, of course, weirdly enough, they get upvotes for some of the dumbest fucking things. There's an actual MauLer fan, actually a couple that I talked to, even featured them in the stream, who actually figured that maybe this got on a Reddit or Discord or something like this for people of EFAP fans just to be brain dead losers and try to bully people who criticize their simp lord MauLer or whoever from EFAP that they want to. Sure, simp, do your retarded little upvoting Reddit tier shit. And just to correct the record, there is a possibility this is not EFAP fans. Now, I'm going to get a little conspiratorial to sort of lay this out because assumptions are bad. This could, in theory, conspiratorially, just be people trying to make EFAP fans and fans of MauLer in particular look bad. But again, Reddit tier 4D chess sort of logic. So, baseline assumption is this is EFAP fans. But I'm not going to completely discount it. A different group of losers try to go around people talking, giving these people criticism to make it seem like EFAP fans are more toxic than they are. Just for the record, I know not all EFAP fans, because I talk to plenty of them, aren't this brain dead to do this sort of shit. Because generally they have some logic and arguments for any points that I might bring up. So, next comment, only one upvote. Guess he was not mean enough for the like of the mob. Dude, if you're going to make a video takedown of EFAP, at least make it entertaining. Last thing I want to watch is a video with little to no editing and a person who barely knows how to speak. Gotta love the high tier insults from these people. Just because I have a different accent does not mean shit. I'm American. Of course, after listening to MauLer and his refined British accent, of course you would think that about my particular speech pattern. I'm going to be real. I don't fucking care. Entertainment, I thought EFAP was supposed to be critics, media critics. But you know what? I'm not judging them right now. There can be something to be said for how their sort of rhetoric and the sort of community atmosphere they create enables pretty much losers like this to come along and feel like they're speaking for the team on top of talking nonsense about a shit show. What nonsense? Please do elaborate. And I'm sorry I'm not up to your entertainment standards. Do you want me to just call them shit and other things? You know, I believe in something called constructive critiquing. Yeah, it might not be the most entertaining thing, but you know what? I do feel like it has a place here. And you know, if you just want to be seals and consume entertaining content, I don't know why you're going to EFAP. Yeah, I do know why you're going to EFAP. It's lowbrow media criticism a good amount of the time. And I could have done much more editing with this, but I wanted to preserve sort of the message that I was going along. You don't want to be like, I took them out of context or something like that. Of course, next one, I dislike this 4 upvotes. So stunning and brave. You know, it's totally worth a upvote just to say something you can say with a freaking thumb button. But you know what? I'm sure their logic goes beyond anything. You should explain and break down why you think his reading of Futurama and Buffy is more lenient than his reading of this Ahsoka episode. Here comes the contradiction. I stopped listening after that point. I think it was around the 20-minute mark. I explained a couple times. I can't help if you weren't listening. Use point, evidence, explain, buddy. Here's the problem with that, buddy. The fact that does MauLer in their EFAPs do any of that? No, that is not the place for that. And I don't need some. Let's see how well. Oh, the asshole archives. So I think your opinion is probably going to be invalid. 7 years ago, and he wouldn't even have such expertise on how video making or even streaming should be made. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Everyone thinks they know how to make these things. Ola Gray, hey, hey. As I try to keep people away from the stream because it's just gonna be me sort of going through these comments. For the record, probably gonna be bored. I'm gonna try to make it interesting in however I do. Don't just throw points out and expect listeners to take you on good faith. No, I do not expect that. But thank you for trying. There's not enough hours in the day to entrust that you would eventually get around to proving that vital evidence. I sort of started off with the lead, and someone's going to bring that up. But okay, buddy, not really worth going with that brain dead knowledge. Pretty much. These comments are rather stupid. There are a couple of good ones, not the IJP Mexican. I swear, I don't know how he can call himself a centrist with what he does. Okay, I'm probably giving him a hard time. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Of course, they mock me. Why not give a little good humor mocking back? Show is bad. Acting, story. Is there anything good about the Ahsoka show? Even if we can call it the Ahsoka show. Sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's not what this is about. I'm not standing Ahsoka. I have a particular type of criticism that I think is rhetorically definitely more effective than what MauLer put out. Simple as that. I can defend a lot of MauLer's videos very explicitly. This is the first MauLer video that I've had really many issues with. Yeah, I have a different perspective on this, and I generally align with MauLer overall with my assessment, even if I get to it in a different way. And why I think he makes too many assumptions sometimes. Ultimately, it must be a byproduct of going through so many of the same things and seeing the same crap being put out. I did my original stream in hopes of, giving a little constructive criticism, but towards MauLer, not the show. I was steel manning the show at certain places to sort of highlight. You can still point out where it does good and where it can fix itself. I'm even going to give a few readings later on about a couple of scenes that I think weren't the best done, but sort of my fixes for it that would fix it. But let's get through the commentary now. All he wants is for people to recognize there is a difference. Oh, sorry. Skipped ahead. The only character I care about. MauLer has never said anything MauLer has never said everything he says is objective or logical. He says he does put the subjective opinions into videos. All he wants is for people to recognize a difference. There is a difference. And perfectly fine. It's just, I was so. See, this is a sort of bad thing on me with making this edit. I'm responding to this comment at this point. It's logical ones, and he wouldn't even do an argument about the show being copy paste, being better than older material that they stole from. Let's see the argument. I've gone over this a few times already with even some fans of EFAP.
Star Wars can't grow up.
This is my bad here. The edit here. I did not think about that while I was editing the sort of talk I went with. So we went over that. I'll agree with you. He isn't 100% logical. I never made that claim about him. Whoever was in chat was the person to make that claim. I don't know if he's a fan of MauLer, but my guess is that he was. And I'm running all of this under assumption that these are actually fans of MauLer's or EFAP. And I'm pretty sure EFAP doesn't give a crap about you. But we'll get into the better comments in the actual other one. See, my bad. Okay. It's fine and a little funny. It got 8. Oh, response didn't get anything. I guess the backpedaling of him. And the IJP Mexican. I still don't understand why the line is that all I have to teach my Padawan one day is therefore in relations to the rest of the episode. My best reading of that is that even in her childlike form, she had concerns about her Padawan's Savine wrench. That really sounds weird. I'm sure they put a certain tone. She, after all, did just before she entered that other world, co-sign her to death for the greater good. Frankly, it proves neither Ahsoka or Anakin of that place were true Jedi masters because the light side is about protection, not destruction. At least that is the general consensus if you get into the terminology. Hola, Lucy. Why did you come? I'm going to just be making fun of these comments mostly. You know, that's the best thing you can do in this. Was that the intent of the author? No clue. I can only judge based on what I know of Star Wars and what was in the show. So we have all that fun stuff. And let me switch gears and talk a bit to the crowd. Because frankly, I want to see MauLer do better. He does awesome a lot of the time. He's even talking to Star Wars theory right now, and I can see a lot of good coming out of that. There's even some points where I can almost agree with Star Wars theory over MauLer in the discussion they had. But I've never listened to Star Wars theory before, and I've listened to a lot of MauLer. I am not a fanboy of anything in particular. In fact, I didn't even watch Ahsoka until after I watched this video. It's just the imbalance of it really definitely just set me off. The rhetoric and optics. Because frankly, I think I do understand the concerns he had with Disney. I have the same concerns. I sort of opted out. MauLer stayed in and kept on harping at that same on point. And oh yeah, I'm a dumbass. Oh, I unlisted it because it was rather scuffed audio. I forgot about that and took the hard way. So we're going into the new comments. These ones are the real fun ones. I'm going to skip my pin because I knew how scuffed it was, but let's see the replies. No, I did not. Tai Waititi. Oh, sorry. I need to get a drink. Tweet about taking over. No, I did not. That would be interesting. I'm not sure. I sort of opted out of Love and Thunder, but I don't know if it was corporate oversight that had it, or maybe it was better than a lot of critics said, but he's definitely very interesting overall. But let's get back into these comments. As I said, it's fun to sort of just go through certain things, especially since EFAP fans are sort of proving my point with this. Is that the sort of rhetoric around Ahsoka? Don't get me wrong, it's not a good show at all. Let me get through a few of these and I'll go into one of them. Don't worry, I got to the 1 minute marker before I jumped off. This is when I said I'm editing. Hopefully you'll find gold in that pile of crap. Thank you, KB 9270. I hope your NPC bot can find something you enjoy. How's that funny exactly? No clue. I don't know in that relations to anything, but da 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 da. Okay, someone who's with me. I gave him a thumbs up, but not a ha. I don't even necessarily. Maybe I actually do. But I doubt I'll be the one doing the humbling. This is a solid rebuttal. Keep up the good work. Just ignore all the idiots in the comments section. Might as well at least give that person a like. I don't know if EFAP needs to be humbled, but they could do better. I hate that terminology, but I just think going over your own stuff, thinking about your own rhetorical and tactical shortcomings and not let your sort of bias sort of run rampant is smart to do. And as I said, normally I can defend most of MauLer's content. EFAP a little bit less, but I can put a certain framing on it. I'm just fucking with you. This video sucks. Okay, yeah, lovely. I'm glad you were just fucking with me. I'm taking away my like, man. Please tell me. I thought this was EFAP for a second, then I heard nonsense. Yeah, I like that comment. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm not gonna go with this. This guy, this is some Viper energy right here. I read through it. He's trying to defend. That's what he does. He nitpicks, tear people, he mauls it. That's it. I don't know what you think his intentions are. It isn't to convert fans. And I think that is a mistake. I think that's coming down to it. It's not about converting fans. It's about making the people who disagree with you agree with you. If you really want Disney and Star Wars fan base, you need to give a persuasive argument. And even if it is an exposing seal clappers that blindly praise a brand despite deplorable quality product, he's okay. He goes on. I mean, it's quite interesting. Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, I'll give that some sort of thing. I'll agree the writing isn't there and often undercuts its rather haphazard visual storytelling that is in Ahsoka. That's probably only the tip of the iceberg. I watched MauLer's discussion with Star Wars Theory earlier today, and I thought it went rather well. Frankly, I think that's where he excels and can do the greatest good. And I absolutely think that is where he excels and where he can do the greatest good if he wants to get people, the fandom of Disney, on his side. Persuasive arguments, not something that leads you down being the toxic brood. It's good to lean into it sometimes, but I think the tides are shifting and he should be pursuing people more often. It was another letdown of a once amazing character. I don't understand what's happening with all that stuff. They keep missing empty net. Okay. Soka's by no means the worst of Darth Kennedy's Star Wars, but it's just not good. It's sad, and I can agree with that sentiment. Let me go into my sort of the main gripe. The original thing with the sort of Padawan, Sabine something, in the very beginning, something very off-putting. She goes in, for anyone who hasn't seen it, they go in, you have the big guy doing a speech. He's like, oh, where's this woman? Where's this woman? Oh, get her, get her, get her. Bring her back. So they have this whole big scene about them coming out in starfighters trying to stop her while she's on a little motorcycle. frankly, that's dumb. That was completely retarded. Yes, I understand. They wanted to try to, with the story, showing, not telling, that she's a rebel without a cause. She's not like other girls or crap like that. Frankly, I would have rewrote it to be a little bit more realistic and down to earth to convey the same ideas. She's training with her platoon. She's obviously a badass with a gun, former Mandalorian soldier. They're doing training exercises or whatever. And so, they stop. They go to the locker room, sort of start decoupling. You have the two teammates sort of talking to each other. Then they try to talk to her. She stands offish. They're like, okay, we're going to this sort of thing later on. Why don't we all go together? You're speaking right. It should be like, she would probably be standoffish still, give it some sort of context, let them sort of highlight some personality, why she sort of walks off, and then you make a joke about it later. It's not perfect, but it's more down to earth with how the rewrite could have gone. I would actually have to sit down and think about it, but that would have been a much better thing than the overblown, over the top. Then the guy would have been like, where's Savine? Okay. Be like, I don't know. She disappeared. Okay. Instead of some over the top, exaggerated science fiction sequence. Okay. Let's get back into this. Again, can't be mad at Mueller for molding. Can't be mad at Critical Drinker for being too critical. When Star Wars Theory, one of, if not the biggest Star Wars lore channels, was essentially banned by Darth about honest about the misstep of sequels trilogy, it really opened my eyes. Still, I'm glad I rewatched Ahsoka before rewatching Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, and even Mandalorian season 3. But it's not good. And I can agree. But frankly, I see some attempts in there to be better, like Savine against the sort of a Padawan of the Sith like guy, Baywin. They didn't have a fake out. She got cut in the stomach. Okay. It was completely believable that she would have stabbed. My criticism is, why didn't she follow through? I don't know. Maybe she didn't even care about killing that character. That's something I don't like to make assumptions very much, so I'm not going to actually get into that. So, IJP Mexican, same thing from last video. I actually answered him last time. This one's really weird. Last verse 5863. This seems like it could be the start of something fun. So, a shit stirrer. This might have actually been one of the people who kicked this thing off. And I really should have sorted by. Yeah, I did do his first. Maybe I should have done it in reverse order, but no, we're going back in time. Oof, just oof. Good luck. May the gods have mercy on your soul when EFAP covers this video. First of all, this was a stream, not a video. Moron. Although it wouldn't surprise me if they decide to cover something more interesting than this. Why are you even commenting? This is less value than anything. This video is not peak fire, bro. Neither's your brain, dude. Wonder if this is a Hassan fan that EFAP converted or something like that. Here, let's actually see if this next one. It almost seems like this is good. Son, besides talking down to me. From the start, I could be older, could be younger. Who the hell knows? Here's a bunch of helpful tips to at least improve your content on a surface level. You should see a speech therapist. Great start. Okay, my speech is not exactly the best, but by any metric measure, it is definitely not the worst. This stream was a little bit off for me, but still, starting off with that, not a great start. It's incredibly difficult to follow your hurdle, imprecise speech patterns. Fine enough. Two, you only have a backwater shithole internet where the information is delivered to you by truck rather than cable. You should stop streaming. Yeah, I know. It's way easier to be profitable to streaming, but your streams are terrible. It's like watching a video. Yeah, the internet was fucking with me this morning. That morning. Oh, God. Sorry. This isn't incorrect. It's just phrased in the worst possible way possible. A little tact, motherfucker. Okay? You know, it can go a long way. And this is some fucking bullshit. I got a decent mic. I'm not going to tell you what the mic is, but it's not a phone. So maybe this is a little bit of gaslighting. Concern trolling, maybe? I got a decent microphone. Make yourself a script and edit the audio. What the hell is this done by NPC? This he just admitted that this is a stream. Make a script and edit the audio to make it more. It's a stream. No one wants to hear you dribble and drool out of your mouth while your brain is still rendering your thoughts. It's uninteresting. Okay, this is contradictory. I don't know what concern trolling, maybe? Get yourself something interesting to say. I think what I'm talking about actually matters. Nobody cares about what you think because your thoughts are utterly mind numbing. Then why did you freaking bother to leave a comment? Just to be a jackass? Probably. But you know what? I almost thought, didn't really go over it earlier because of the sort of bad tack that he goes over in the beginning. Just devolves into pure stupidity that almost contradicts itself between 2 and 3. And that's probably one of the better comments we're going to get into. Okay, we have Tone Policing. What's with the title? EFAP is not a technical show. It's a podcast about analyzing media. Let's see. EFAP's bad tactics against Ahsoka. Did I ever say it's tactical? Maybe I did. It's bad tactics to sort of be such a dick, in my personal opinion. But you know what? The angry ranter does have a certain segment among people, but that's besides the point. Good point, Greg. Couldn't we all use a speech therapist? And I definitely could use a drink. Getting dry. This is why it's not great to actually, not have some videos to cover you or have someone else here. Really wish there was someone to actually, break down what exactly, out of all these comments, what exactly their issues with it. Because I'm not getting much out of these comments. Well, besides sort of evidence of proof that, there's a certain segment of EFAP fans who just are in it for the own. They don't, maybe they care about the media, but they definitely care. They probably care more about EFAP shitting on people that they don't like, want to call them stupid, and find sophisticated ways that aren't toxic to do it, maybe. Justification. Okay, no, everything is tactics and everything is political. Don't ever forget that, my dude. I'm thinking this is sarcasm. Says you. Maybe it's not. Ahsoka is once, I guess, one of the worst written, most contrived, pathetic, badly acted, predictable, mind numbing shows. You squeezed a lot in there and said very little. Could just said it. It's a bad show in your opinion. I've seen it in a while. It's not worth defending. Again, not really the point of the video. There is good ways to state criticism and there's bad ways. Stop simping stop simping for soy boy Fion I guess Filoni. Okay. Was I simping for him? I would have to rewatch, and I don't really want to do that. He literally found a way to ruin Braun FFS. No clue what that means. I'm guessing I'm a boomer. Okay. Okay, let's say wait. Whoa, thank you. Timestamp.
Of different points in time. Like, I don't know what he is.
Question everything. Just question. I should have said consume everything. No, I'm joking. Yes, this is really starting to bug me and some people. Okay, maybe it's a pet peeve. You know what? Fair enough. Let's see what the rest of it says. Because this, I actually do answer, and I get a little bit memey with this. Oh, I don't know what Anakin is. Yeah, question everything with a patronizing tone. Oh, sure, EFAP never does that. They never point out. And yeah, these people, it's really bugging me that they're just a question, begging the question. But we're about to see. Fringy just clarifies his concerns about not knowing if this Star Wars clip is either a hallucination or memory from Ahsoka. The act of you being bothered by Fringy trying to figure out the state of Anakin in this clip is what bothers you? No, just it's something that's a pet peeve that I've noticed people sort of questioning things that might necessarily not be questioned. Simple as that. Question everything is not bad tactics. I guess that's clarity is the opposite of bad tactics. I don't know how question without an answer. A lot of people ask these questions like they expect the creator in these response videos, like they expect the creator to have an answer right away. You could say Dark Souls, question what the story is every single moment. It's very complex. And sort of storytelling method through. See, I just think some people want to be spoon fed everything, known everything. And frankly, there is a certain art to learning things through the visual medium. Does Ahsoka attempt to do that? Yes. Does it do a good job at it? No. Thus, this video may more accurately be labeled Vincent Bad Tactics against EFAP. Thank you for playing. No question, everything is a postmodern idea that's a little bit too close to critical theory for my taste. True enough. Maybe I shouldn't have brought up critical theory. By the way, this is a stream. Okay. Okay, we get a response. No, question everything is no way postmodern skepticism, primarily specifically something I'm not even going to try to pronounce is associated with question everything mentality. And it existed before Christianity. How incredibly unintelligent does one have to be to unironically believe questioning things? Frankly, I was being a little bit snarky with that. Fair enough. Is believe that questioning everything is an inherently postmodern idea that's related to critical theory in every way. Frankly, I didn't say inherently postmodern. I'm saying postmodernists believe in questioning everything, breaking it down, everything subjective, everything, finding the flaws in everything. Okay. And frankly, maybe it's just my viewpoint because I'm sort of going through this and seeing other critics And maybe I could explain that if someone knows all the other videos and streams I've done. I generally like answers opposed to questions. Okay. Could just be a pet peeve, but yeah, it is a postmodern idea. Maybe existed further back in the past, but you would have to actually make an argument for why EFAP follows the more whatever skepticism that you just assume EFAP goes closer to. But I ask you, are they incredibly educated? I don't know. Supposedly Fringy went to law school or something like that. Oh, yeah, I remember. He got a lot of things about American law wrong in terriers. Whoops. Sorry. Hurts Fringy's credibility. Wow. Yeah. Wow. You can't just actually state something that's incredibly unintelligent to unironically believe. Questioning things are inherently a postmodern idea. And you're a bigger moron for not thinking that it's a strong concept behind postmodernism, even if it existed before then. When is it more likely at? Yeah, probably too snarky. Okay. I disagree, and saying it existed before postmodernism does not mean the skepticism of EFAP is related to whatever bullshit that is. Well, I'm not going to be as I'm not going to be as ignorant as you and assume I am correct without anything to back up my general impression. To be fair, I looked it up a little bit. Not an argument I really care to dive any more on, but this would be if I wanted to prove this sort of thing, which I'm not really going to die at the stake of because I don't care that much. If it's more postmodernism, as I said, being a bit of an ass here. Thank you for your comment. Is a worthy line of logic, at least to look into. Also, to be clear, I don't think what EFAP does is postmodernism. It's more in reaction to content creators with the postmodernistic mindset. And that is correct. And this is something that I can't substantiate, but I'm starting to see among the anti woke people. Still, beware when you fight monsters, you do not become a monster yourself. For when you gaze into the abyss gaze into you. Frederick W. Nietzsche. Love that quote. Seems to be something. I even had a what is woke stream? Yes, flowing water stream. Which sort of where I speculated that almost critical theories in general almost are designed to sort of create a reactionary effort that is very similar but in polar opposite diverse metric to sort of create that reactionary effect or at least create the illusion of that, which some people will embrace. And there's a whole big thing, but that was another video. And Jesus Christ, I never met a wannabe intellectual. Nietzsche quote in awe. You are a living caricature. Okay. Is that a sentence? Is that an insult? I'm guessing. Okay. Dumb, 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 dumb. Okay, they're questioning the things that are vague and unclear when they are important to plot and character. And how would you know that? Let's take a look. Definitely need to clarify how I create these things.
Video, I continue on. She needs to gain the fire and the courage to push forward, to fight for, because right now she.
This is really starting to bug me about this.
See?
Too early to reveal that answer. Find out in the next stream of Vincent Martin. Yep. Okay. It is something that bugs me. Doesn't bug me as much in EFAP as some things, but it's still bugging me nevertheless.
Leia's covering for them, but why? They've done something wrong. Why would Leia cover for them?
Making a difference is
Oh, I cut that off. Like MauLer's, all their assumption that why would Leia cover for them? Think about that. Why is he asking that? And why is he putting that in doubt? Again, begging the question and just assuming Leia. I'm thinking it's sort of a virtue ethics. Leia's a hero. She won the war. Of course, she wouldn't let these rule breakers get away with this and help them. But why is he making that assumption? MauLer's probably biggest weakness is he makes assumptions which has no basis in the actual media, like his criticism of Finn, assuming that he would have moral objections to actually killing fellow stormtroopers. There is nothing in the film to actually support that concept of Finn in that movie. In fact, most of the supported evidence, he was brainwashed, he was rather a loner, he was brought into this sort of a platoon he was in just very recently. Oh, weird. I generally don't get calls to sign up to AT&T so late. Jeremy, you review. Do you want to defend this? I know some of my takes, my constructive criticism is rather weird to a lot of people, but I did this in an attempt to sort of help constructive critiques, which I think is incredibly helpful to a lot of people out there. And these comments don't seem to understand this. I mean, some of them do. And I go off at some certain points. Okay. I think I got off of what I was doing somehow. So, getting back on track. Had a interruption that sort of took things down. Ooh, really long one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this down myself. Too many bumps, but I'm hoping the connection is good enough. Vincent versus Jeremy. Oh, well, I'm fine. I want someone to argue against. I find having someone to counter me actually sharpens my points, gives me more focus overall. But you know what? No one contacted me on Twitter when I put the stuff in the links, but I wonder if I'm going to get comments. So I will make it acceptable to do a follow up. If anyone wants to follow up, who the hell knows? Maybe I'll restructure this to put all this in the beginning of an edited version. Come one, come all. You got issues with me. You think you can do better. You think you're great enough. Okay. A little bit condescending. Okay. I got really off base with what was going on there. I thought this was EFAP for a second. Then I heard nonsense. So helpful. After the conclusion of first season, Ahsoka somewhat yeah, somewhat validates MauLer's point, i.e., there's a lot of big problems in the foundational writings and execution of the show. Not going to deny that. You do well with your counterpoints. That fills in a lot of the gaps that MauLer's addressed. And I respect and mostly agree with you. And there lies the problem. You are explaining things the show didn't. I want to agree with this, but it is sort of in the visual storytelling. If because this is does seem to be a comment in good faith. And yes, a lot of people are not going to read the visual storytelling. It's hoity-toity crap that isn't explicit unless you have certain context clues. And there is many theories out there to sort of put that out there. But you know what? Hard to say. Yeah. No takers to defend this. Yeah. This guy goes into all this. I think, yeah. Yeah, I even say that. I'll agree the writing isn't there. It often undercuts the haphazard visual storytelling. Yeah, I already read this one. Okay, I'm just redoing this. Okay. Yeah, gonna have to edit this down. Sort of phone call fucked with me. And yeah, postmodernism. Come on, this video is boring at best. Oh, sorry, I bored you. Go back to watching EFAP, man, or something. I hate the criticism of it's boring. Joseph Anderson. A lot of these critics say, "Oh, it's boring. It's boring." Yeah, I can't do anything with that criticism. Oh, here's a great one. This sure seems like a sad, lazy attempt to leech off of EFAP. Are you recording with a phone from 2010? Okay, how am I supposed to answer that? Besides, fuck off. I don't know how to reply to that civilly. Okay, I always try to at least address some comments. That's one of my practices. So, honestly, covering your vid would make a great episode, EFAP episode in your fucking dreams. I would freaking lose all faith in EFAP at all if they attempted to do such a pathetic little thing to my little stream. Well, maybe they could have done it more constructively and actually acknowledge some of my points. Unlike a lot of these comments, sort of miss the point of the video completely and find at least some of them have some interesting ways of backhandedly insulting me. So I will give some of the comments credit for almost seeming like on the surface that they have any value. But frankly, that one that listed out 1, 2, and 3, and 4, no, that could turn trolling at best. We think that fans of EFAP would be able to up their insults or arguments, but there's not a lot in this. Why would MauLer piss me off? Okay. No, honestly, covering your video. Okay. And if MauLer pissed me off, you could go to the professional clown route and false flag him as well. So let me address this. Maybe bringing up the fact that he was flagged for hate speech by some people who obviously took issue with his video was not the most tactical, optical way to sort of start the stream off with. But I did that. Maybe I should have prefaced it some for like EFAP fans who were immediately set off by me using that as an example. That, yeah, it pissed the fans off that they flagged it. And I don't approve of that. I don't approve of DMC takedowns or much of any of that. Maybe I wasn't emotionally there enough to pull people in, and that is my mistake. I'm sorry. Maybe when I edit this, I should put a trigger warning for EFAP fans. I'm just using this as evidence that the optics of that was off to piss off people who disagree with MauLer's perspective on EFAP. Simple as that. Maybe a little bit too cold and calculating, but that's besides the point. So, okay. Seems like this stream has pissed off a lot of his fans, but why should I care? Have any of you tried thinking critically how hypocritical that Star Wars cannot grow up is rhetorically? Or do you just like to mock people? I'm thinking that is correct. You clearly care, son. Again, the condescending. I am wondering if this person's older or younger than me. You made a 2-hour video. Again, a stream. A stream. Really need to actually take a break and get some water real quick. About how EFAP insulted your new favorite show. Again, I didn't even watch the show until like a week before I made this stream. Definitely not my favorite show. So, incorrect there. Not to say log band bad, but claiming you didn't even care when you clearly do is a bit strange. No, it's not strange. You just have it in your head that anyone who criticizes someone is doing it because clout, they are fanboy, and maybe for let's say 99, let's say even 99% of the time, that's probably not even true. But let's say that is true. There is going to be that 1% that is legitimately trying to, give a constructive critique. But maybe younger people who don't use the son thing would understand what I'm doing with this if they came in with good faith. But again, some of my own bad optics by starting off by bringing up the false flag and using that as evidence that, yeah, this video pissed people off. Well, you live, you learn, then you get loves. But claiming you don't even care when you clearly do is a bit strange. Yeah, I care about actual good, solid, persuasive criticism towards a show. And why I don't exactly agree with most bigger YouTube channels, how they go about it. I do understand the appeal of that one-sided angry rant bashing. And I'm not even saying MauLer, for the most part, does that angry rant, but that is his unbridled rages to a certain extent. It's done with a measure of intelligence, but still a more refined version of that angry rant that wails one-sided. And for most those, given the context of those videos, I can defend those optically and tactically rather well. My problem with this particular video is the unbalanced approach, which will set people off generally. And frankly, I'm not even sure the comparisons are great to make. So, not saying long man bad. Oh, yes, mocking people is great. Well, I'm glad at least one person can acknowledge that. Oh, I probably didn't see this. It seems like this stream has pissed off a lot of fans, but why should I care? Okay, good. I did say that at least. What's the point of making a video? Again, it's a stream. Oh, idiots. Sorry. Bugs me when people are that idiot, especially when stream is earlier. Okay, don't get bogged down. People need to understand that EFAP, FNT, and other critics emphasize so many times that liking something and caring about something, or hell, pouring into making something doesn't mean it's good. Same goes for this debunking, takedown, or downright insulting like YMS, when he later came on to become the ultimate hypocrite when he admitted he would go on Russell Brand's show if he was invited. Okay, let's talk about that before we move on. He said he would probably do it. Did he say he wouldn't give Russell Brand pushback? Okay. It's not only the fact that Critical Drinker went on Russell Brand's show. It's how he conducted himself while on this show. So this is sort of bullshit. Okay. But I'm trying to stay neutral on that subject because hopefully I'll get an EFAP, pro EFAP fan and a pro YMS fan to actually have a discussion around that discussion. Because frankly, I like to represent both sides. Yeah, I'm one of those neutral man, bad, I guess. I'm not debunking MauLer. I'm giving a different perspective. Steel Man, and it's called. I'm not taking it down. I am talking about the optics. So this video, I don't even know. They just make assumptions like Hassan is not actually really watching the video or listening to anything that's being said and just assume I'm being really bad faith. But yeah, I will make mistakes. And I even admitted to the sort of start that probably triggered some, Ultimate EFAP fans, bad optics and tactics myself. But still, these comments, they're just funny. I want to mock them more, but I'm trying to be a little good faith. Was going to go into this just completely down talking these sort of brain rot, tribal ass. I don't even know. But you know what? It would sort of undercut my own message. If it's good, if I can get something out of it, yeah, they are mostly idiotic. Like videos where people claim some utter BS while making incoherent arguments supporting it, but then claiming that they don't really care. Yeah, clearly. Okay. What did I actually say? Said, seems like this stream has pissed off a lot of his fans, but why should I care? Yeah, I don't care about his fans. I care about actual criticism. Is that better stated? You're reading some major wild assumptions into that particular term. I don't care about what fans do. They can partially assume this. They sort of support my sort of argument that the sort of rhetoric that EFAP puts out could encourage, this mindless, also, yes, mocking people's great mind. I think that comes more from Rags than MauLer, to be fair, but it's still a part of the brand. So, this is the funniest part. Do you just like mocking people? This entire video is a mockery, but not MauLer's. This entire video, again, stream is a mockery, but not MauLer's, but yours. And I call bullshit on that. I think even MauLer would call bullshit on that. Yes, he goes between, out of all the EFAP people, he definitely steel mans the most. And I respect him for that among all his friends. But sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he doesn't good faith it. Just goes along with the crowd. The sort of audience capture, sort of a vicious cycle overall. And I do see Tiaman popped up. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're there. Still, I'm going through these comments. I'm having my thoughts. Yeah, that wasn't great. I will have to clarify, but these streams are to get practice in streaming. So I should do a powwow session at some point. If Linton Starfish wants to actually come on at some point, not even necessarily tonight, to talk about how I could discuss the sort of optics problem that I wanted to discuss, that would be fine. I tend to do best, personally, I believe, when I'm discussing an actual issue. Not a debate, a discussion. But you can debate if you want. I don't police people like that. MauLer, I pissed off a whole bunch of people to a point where they're willing to false flag my whole channel. That was a venture. One of their fans was like, we can't get him on copyright. We have to get him on hateful content. Correct. Vincent Martin. Yes, he sort of admitted that he pissed people off with that video. Wow, what a accurate summary of what MauLer just said. Totally not bad faith at all. Again, I'll admit to my own bad optics with that. Should have had a little bit more subtlety with that. A little more tact. But super helpful as well, as if it's illegal or something to piss people off. Okay, yeah, Ahsoka's not human. Did I say something stupid enough like this? Yeah, I'll call myself out. What is he assuming Ahsoka is? Is a machine? Not human? Yeah, she's definitely portrayed as a cocky. No. Yeah, I think I was being hyperbolic because Futurama. Yeah, not my best work.
This is where it gets complicated.
I mean, there is. Ugh, mouse sounds. Mouse sounds. What is? Yeah, not gonna do that. Self-inspection is absolutely good. Okay, you only been at this for years. No, not my video. MauLer's video. Okay, I false flag, false DMC. Yeah, I thought I put in the link in the description. I need to get some new drinks, so I'll be back. So if you want to come through with me and we can go over this, it would actually be a better productive. But so yeah, message me. I can try to clarify my points better. It's my name on Discord. Give me you might need a friend request me. But I need to get something to drink. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm back. Lovely. Might need to adjust my settings. I'll just put it in chat and hopefully that does not go awry. Invite. Copy. I guess this can be done. Let's just hope it does not get abused. I guess I can take things in and out. Okay. Back in action. Let's see if that even works. Ooh, so much heavy breathing. But yeah, it's in chat. If you want to join and argue with me or try to figure out the point of my video. Frankly, yeah, that stream wasn't great. Scuffed. Definitely had a bad start. I'll admit to the tactics there. And I'll try to keep my eyes out for that. Not exactly the person I was expecting to pop in, but you're always welcome. Tiamat. You there, man? Ground control halve. What? Okay.
My audio is messed up. It wants to change my audio.
It says they will need to connect their mic or camera before adding them to the stream.
Who? Me?
No, Layden. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. Layden.
I just figure
I'm not really a very big hooked on phonics person. Okay, they're in. Timon, help clarify. Welcome. So
how y'all doing this evening?
not too bad. So you said you watched the video. And
I got about 30 minutes into it for 45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that stream was rather scuffed in overall. And I edited it. Maybe I should have done another video, and maybe I shouldn't be having so much fun with the comments. What do you think of the comments on these videos? Very helpful or not?
I mean, it looks like standard YouTube comments to me. A little bit helpful, a little bit unhelpful. Yeah.
I'm not reading too much into them. I'm trying to have fun with them because I really am trying to get myself to stream once a week to improve. But yeah. So if I wasn't clear enough, I believe my argument about that particular video, Star Wars Cannot Grow Up, was optically, it came off rather bad. It was like having two unbridled phrases back to back, really short ones, then following that up with unbridled rage. It just the sort of jarring setting that that juxtaposition between the two would definitely be off-putting to a lot of fans, and there's definitely much more tactful ways. And what is your thoughts on that particular video? Because I've talked to EFAP fans about that.
I didn't inherently see an issue with the video, given that it set up the two examples. And then what was it, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then Futurama, and then it used that as kind of like little archetypal models as a way of like showing what good writing would look like in certain instances, and then comparing that to Ahsoka. I guess I'm curious, like, do you feel like Ahsoka had good writing? And
no, I'm not actually saying it had good writing. I did steel man a few areas of it in an attempt to be good faith to the other side, because I believe that's rhetorically effective to complement a sandwich approach. And I'm not even saying MauLer's should do it. but he should have eased a little bit more into the good points of Ahsoka. And maybe he just didn't believe Ahsoka had any good points. Do you think Ahsoka had absolutely no good points at all? I think it was an improvement over The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan,
I
and
will
even a
agree
lot
with
of
you
parts.
that
Okay.
it's an improvement over the Mandalorian. It's an improvement over Obi-Wan. I wouldn't say probably Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but it's an improvement over Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi for sure. Just in the sense that there's more, it's more cohesive of a story. It doesn't, it's just its worst crime is being boring.
Well, I
Is
will
what I'm-
agree with you that, but I really chalk that up to no, this definitely is a reading into it that I see as someone who sort of studied film, and it's really badly adapted. The sort of horrible pacing issues, which I do not deny, the long cinematic shots. Oh,
The
so
pauses.
freaking boring. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely unnecessary. I think they were trying to do a more artistic. Like, I do understand that they do try to do a lot of showing and not telling. And I even
Mhm.
have a rewrite for the sort of major scene that might fix the sort of scene where they're in the other world. And
Mhm.
that would be to sort of display when Ahsoka is more in her future self and her past self. Because definitely she seems like she switches between she's living in the moment, talking to Anakin, and other times where she doesn't give a fuck. But that's speculation. I mean, that would be a rewrite that I think MauLer could. I've seen MauLer do that before. I think that would have been much more effective to break it down, be like, this is what I don't like about it, and this is how I would rewrite it.
Let me ask, do you agree with the overall sentiment, though, that Star Wars just can't seem to grow up?
I don't think Disney can really grow up. Yeah, I agree with the general sentiment that they pander to the lowest common denominator, like a lot of video games even are doing in this. They dumb things down. They try to expand their market instead of catering to what made the series good originally. They want to keep on grabbing more and more people. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
to me, it reminded me of like Jurassic Park 3, like whenever it first came out, like Ahsoka did, because it's like I didn't enjoy Jurassic Park 2 as much as I enjoyed Jurassic Park 3, which is,
You're
I know
talking
it's
about
like
the
a hot,
Jurassic
a hot
Parks of
take.
the current version.
No. I'm talking about the OG Jurassic Parks, the old trilogy.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to clarify if you were talking about the OG.
Mhm. Yeah, like I did not enjoy Jurassic Park 2 as much as I enjoyed Jurassic Park 1, of course. But I enjoyed Jurassic Park
Park 2
3
was
for
a
sure.
shit fest. Okay, even 3
It
was better.
was.
But go on.
Yeah, it was. But it's like it felt like Jurassic Park 3 returned it a little more. It put it in a better place in my mind. Like it took the ideas of Jurassic Park 2 and how like disoriented that made me feel about the series 2. And then it in JP3, you had characters wielding guns, and it's like, okay, well, these people are doing things that kind of makes more sense. Like they're actually being armed going to this place. And it's like I enjoyed it more than Jurassic Park 2. But, in hindsight now, all these years later, it's like, well, the bar was just so low. And that's kind of how I feel about Ahsoka and its relationship to the broader.
Yeah, it would be the
Star Wars
reverse effect if you had something like Andor, which set the bar back, at least at bar level, at least a good level. And then you get something Ahsoka, which frankly I think is better than Obi-Wan. I frankly didn't like I had hope for Mandalorian the first few episodes, but the Baby Yoda thing, sorry, that I'm just like, oh God, I know where this is going. That was my own personal bias that probably got in, but I was also right about there was several good moments in the Mandalorian, Sorry, let me not bring my own subjective feelings into The Mandalorian and how it could have been good. But yeah, I do understand what you're talking about with your Jurassic Park example.
Yeah, it's not that Ahsoka's bad. It's not that. Yeah, it is that
No,
Ahsoka's bad.
Ahsoka is bad, but you can see it's better. And personally, I can see a couple of different things. And yeah, some of the comments saying I'm reading into certain things, and yeah, I'll take that. But it's based on pretty much knowing about filmography, like the sort of change. Why did she change into white? Obviously, the director was trying to be artistic or autistic in certain cases there, where they wanted to keep this weird sort of gray area with Ahsoka, which a lot of people criticized Ahsoka for.
She's a great Jedi.
Yeah, I got the gray Jedi feeling until she sort of had that conflict with Anakin. And it's like the moment she chose not to kill him in the other world, as stupid as it was, I can get the intent behind it. And she became a true Jedi. And as stupid as that is, I think acknowledging that's the intent. And it maybe just disappoints me that people aren't picking up on these little subtle hints like I do.
Do you
But
feel like
maybe I expect
Ahsoka-
critics to be more well versed in stuff like this, but maybe I have too high a standard. Okay.
I mean, can I interject? Wouldn't it be both? Because Vincent, didn't we say you kind of didn't realize to me, Gunrunner and them, there was a little bit of prehistory that they didn't really explain. I'm not saying Ahsoka could have been better. If you don't mind, this is I felt it was they were trying to go for the Rebels last season that never got done, and it just didn't stick the landing. Like,
Okay.
do you remember that? You know, it's that Rebels member berries, like you said. It's not like I think it was purposely marketed towards something like kids, but
It was capitalizing off of the success of definitely
Rebels.
I can't say Rebels was truly the Clone Wars, then Rebels. It tried to continue with that.
Because the idea, right?
But we do have a guest on. You sort of made your point, Tiaman.
Yes.
I just don't want to be rude. How would you say your name? Leighton?
It is Leighton Starfish.
Leighton.
As in weighed down.
Starfish. Yep. Okay. I'm just always unsure of that. My hooked on phonics lessons didn't exactly hook me too much. I generally have to memorize things, but
it was a randomly generated Xbox Live name back when I bought my first Xbox, whenever I was like 12, 13. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not judging you for it. I'm making fun of myself for not being able to pronounce certain things, which
it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, you were making a point before Timon here interjected.
I was. What was it?
I'm not exactly sure. Timon interjected. I thought you were making a point about that, but
well, oh yeah, we were talking about the world between worlds.
Yes, that did get brought up, and I frankly think it was handled rather badly. The actress also, children actresses are notoriously bad. They should have used a sort of juxtaposition between switching between the actress who played Ahsoka and the child actress to sort of symbolize her living in her more in the past and her. I don't give a fuck.
Clone Wars.
Oh God, that's such a horrible line. Technically, you should actually say what battle that was. Ahsoka wouldn't say the Clone Wars. You can bring it up later. Let me not get into that. But yeah, cringy as all hell.
Yeah. Do you feel like it needed the world between worlds? Do you feel like they could have accomplished like Ahsoka could have finished her training and come to the perspective of being a Jedi without the world between worlds scene and the introduction of Anakin back into this? Because to me, that felt very fan servicey, and it didn't actually need to be done.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny it's fan servicey.
Mhm.
Okay, definitely not going to deny that. But I just don't know how they could have accomplished what they wanted to accomplish by having her have that crossover to get that white robe to sort of try to symbolize, I say that with air quotes, that she's actually now a light side Jedi. I don't know how you could have done that. I think that was definitely written very poorly how they could have done it, but I can feel the intent behind it. That's what they were trying to convey with that, even as badly put together. And I believe just acknowledging that does a long way to buy goodwill among people who might reject your message.
Mhm.
It's more of a this whole thing has been more of a tactical and optical thing. That's because I actually respect. I've seen MauLer have some serious conversations with some rather stupid people, and he generally does such a good job. The fact that this was just such an optical and tactical mistake just wowed me in a certain way.
Mhm. Like the Star Wars Can't Grow Up video. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that video alone just really took me left field. I didn't know what to think about it for a while. Okay. And yeah, I'm rather haphazard with my streams. Just
Uh-huh.
going willy-nilly, trying to practice and refine my method. Uh
No, that's good.
you
That's a good
don't
thing to
have
do.
necessarily my personal perspective on this particular matter, but let's say you did have my perspective. How do you think Mueller could have handled this better?
Well,
I
if I had your perspective, I
Yeah.
mean,
Would you agree with my general I'm saying how would you actually go about making the argument? Sorry. It's
well,
rather difficult to put it out there.
I think you said it earlier in that there's it may perhaps if it were to be done better, it's like you could outline like more examples of like how you would have done these particular things better, as opposed to just showing the archetypes of say Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Futurama and letting that do the speaking for you. Perhaps that could have been done. You could have just done rewrote it and said, well, okay, instead of doing this, they should have done this. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, but short of doing that, I don't know of a way that you could make the argument better. I don't agree. I know what you mean whenever you say like EFAP gets into like a group think occasionally, and they start nodding along, and they'll go along maybe with something that shouldn't be gone along with. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. But at the same time, it's it's part of analyzing things in a group setting.
Yeah, I do understand the sort of mass appeal of taking one side over another and being extremely effective at just ripping into something. Like the one comment that I did agree with, who sort of sympathized with what I was trying to say, talking about how Mueller rips into things. And yeah, I agree. He's great at that. But there's a time and place for that optically. And
Do you feel like Ashoka was a do you feel like it's more of a benchmark for the type of Star Wars we should be getting, or I mean,
no,
because it sounds like
absolutely
you don't
not.
like it, right?
I
So,
don't I can admire a few visual story techniques that the show tries to implement, and they definitely
mhm.
do try to like it in the beginning. Episode 1, that was just a completely ridiculous thing. She's supposed to be at this
The
meeting, and her
temple droids.
boss tells two freaking not TIE fighter, two starfighters to stop her on a motorcycle. Completely over the top. Yeah, she's a rebel without a cause. You could do it in a much more real. You could do that with visual storytelling much better in a more down to earth way instead of such a extreme like. Because you can only suspend your suspension of disbelief to a certain extent. So yeah, I had that criticism in the very start. That's too over the top.
Mhm. But do you feel like the like in terms of its like cohesion and its story, like you feel like it's a better story than Kenobi or Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely
Yeah,
more
I would agree with that too.
it's more coherent, and yeah, I understand Endor was just set the bar way high for a lot of fans, except for Star Wars Theory, who didn't like it because it wasn't Star Wars, but let's not get into that rabbit
Yeah, there wasn't
hole.
enough lightsabers. Yeah.
But yeah, I
will
do
say
understand the feeling behind it, but
it's Filoni, though. Filoni is hit or miss by some people, though.
okay.
Filoni
see
has
it.
a style that, love him or hate him, it sometimes carries over. Like, if you look at Disney Wars as a whole, this is just the way I look at it. I liked Rebels, but Rebels was, you gotta understand, was targeted towards when Disney took over.
That was also the freaking hell. I'm surprised it was halfway good. That was the
It was
the story group, the Kathleen Kennedy story group.
That
And don't get me
amazing-
started on the expertise.
but some of
Them
it
bringing
was-
these experts in to sort of stamp
Mhm.
mark the approval of Lord of the
But-
Rings, Rings of Power. It's a common tactic.
But some of them said to bear in mind, Rebels was not entirely bad. That was also a little bit of Filoni's work, and you see him brought in. You could see a little bit. It is definitely Clone Wars was Filoni's baby too. Now, translating this up to live action.
Okay, Tiamon, let me cut you off because you did bring up a good point. So thank you for bringing it up. In that particular video, Mauler sort of seems to go into Filoni that Ahsoka is his baby, his darling, his sort of Mary Sue, and he seems to be like he made her a Mary Sue. Why is she not being a complete Mary Sue anymore? That seemed a little weird to me to say they tried to and did a rather bad job, seemingly try to give her flaws and weaknesses. Again, I'm not advocating for the show, but I do see them trying to fix a lot of the problems in the series. Layden, what do you think about sort of what's your reading on that particular thing from MauLer's perspective? Because
So as I understand it, now I didn't watch too much of Rebels or Clone Wars, but
just based
of
off of what
the-
MauLer was saying, he was sort of Filoni was making Ahsoka a badass and pretty much a Mary Sue from how he was laying it out
so
in his video.
Maybe you could tell me more about this than I would know. But so you remember? I don't know if you've ever seen Thor Ragnarok, right? And
yeah, Thor
okay,
Ragnarok was actually pretty good.
It
I
was
didn't
good.
like most of the Thor movies except for Ragnarok. It had its own special charm, at least.
And then in Endgame, Thor pretty much has to come about like the same. He has to go down the same like heroic journey, but in a much more minimal scale, in order to become the Thor that comes back with Stormbreaker and takes on Thanos. Right? It's the same thing as what took place over the entire core story of Ragnarok. Except they just sort of did it as a plot device just to kneecap him at the beginning so that he didn't have like all of his powers. He had to overcome this thing that he had sort of already overcome. Now, as I understand it, like Ashoka had already overcome and come to understand a lot of the lessons that were being imparted to her like by Anakin in the world between worlds. But sort of like an end game, because a lot of people aren't paying attention to the fact that this story has already been told. It speaks to them. Now, is that something that you see as true? Do you feel like she is sort of re-experiencing the character progression that she should have had already from the Clone Wars and Rebels?
No, I don't see it as that. I see it as trying to deal with sort of the end stage of things and not quite having the bravado and sort of experience to go about in the world, but still not actually able to get that closure from Anakin personally. That's what I felt that they were trying to go for. A sort of closure with her former master, who she had a fallen out with. And I can see why they would go for that, especially since a lot of the what they were doing with the poor pacing seemed to been more aimed at women with a more they were trying to go with a more emotional experiences. They still, even under those circumstances, it still was horrible. Okay, but I could get what they were going with a more emotional setting. I probably have a different perspective. I try to see when I look at media, I try to think about who are they trying to market it this towards, and what problems does that cause within the writing, the cinematography, the directing, the pacing, all those simple elements. I'm just trying to advocate for people to sort of go back to the roots and try to figure these things out so they can sort of figure out how to move on. You need to sort of go back, like in martial arts. Sometimes you get to a certain level where you're unstoppable, and it might be a horrible comparison. Sometimes going back to the basics and learning the basic forms, the basic training will help you understand and how to get better. Probably a horrible example, but that's the one I'm putting out there.
I feel like I know what you're saying, but
Vincent,
sure,
what if you said, not to interject again, what if you said Soka's last meeting was Anakin, was being pulled out of the world between worlds, between Ezra, when she fights the duel and he is Anakin is Darth Vader. And she hasn't seen Anakin since, and that's part of her closure thing when she says she has a hard time doing closure because she had been separated. Because prior, if you see in Rebels, the last time she ever saw him was when he was Darth Vader in their duel and he was about to kill her. That's what I said. Because that was in Rebels. And then Ezra pulls her out right as she's about to die, changing her fate.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, here's the question: consistency. From what I know, Ahsoka used a lot of things like the space whales and tried to follow on from Rebels as haphazardly, as mixed of the writing as that show was.
space whales are their own problem.
Can we agree that it is just generally, whether it's Endgame or Ashoka, if you're doing time travel in your plot, there's probably a problem. If you're doing time travel and you're not Back to the Future, there's probably a problem with your writing.
Oh, absolutely. Time travel is the most lazy plot device. I hate it. Okay, I tolerated Endgame just because it sort of brought some closure after the epic events of Infinity War. Okay, I tolerated it, and despite any of my criticism about the MCU up until Endgame, the character work is always phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I loved Infinity War. I honestly thought they could have left it at
even
Infinity War.
Endgame had great character work. Okay, I want to say great character work. What they did with Thor was really, I'm not going to do a moral judgment. It was really fucked up. Yeah, I'll say it. It was really fucked up how they put him back at a
The
back
problem
lazy
is
slob.
problem. If you see what I put in private chat, what I said is basically every Thor movie is him finding himself in some fashion or another. And it's been the theme of Thor that it really hurts his character because he's always finding himself one fashion or another. If he's Fat Thor towards the end, or you see him and he finds it, because like the only time you see a remotely confident Thor, if you go off this standard, is when he kills Thanos, goes to the planet when Thanos has snapped half the universe in half, takes Stormbreaker, whatever he has, and literally just kills him.
Okay. Yeah, all good points, Tiamat. Back to the time travel point. So you feel Ahsoka was trying to make an appeal to actual time travel? Or it was just uncertain, is this time travel or not?
Was that a question for me?
Yes, Leighton.
Oh, I feel like it was just like I felt like it was doing the same thing that Endgame was doing. It was like, okay, we've had this incredible story like in Infinity War and like all the stories leading up to this, but we really need to make one more movie, and but we can't quite make it work with all the moving parts as they are, so we need more parts. So how do we get more parts when we don't have any? But the die has already been cast. Well, time travel, that's like the only. And so I feel like it's like it would have been more satisfying if even like CGI Luke had given her the lesson that made her realize that she was, more of a Jedi than, the opposite.
Okay.
Because then at least it would have been someone in universe who isn't dead that has like some sort of connection to Anakin as well. In Book of Boba Fett, her and Luke are hanging out on the island, right?
Sorry, I actually skipped Book of Boba Fett. That was just too bad. I don't even
Well-
remember I did watch The Mandalorian after the second season. I think I block a lot of that out after a certain point. It's spotty with The Mandalorian. I couldn't do
Book of Boba
Boba
Fett is so fucking bizarre. Like whenever, like episode 5 and 6 of Book of Boba Fett have nothing to do with Boba Fett. It's all just Mandalorian.
I mean, it wanted to be. The thing is, that show wanted to be the legacy of Boba Fett, like what happens to him after. Because bear in mind, Disney thought this would be a good idea to throw the EU and Legends canon out with the bathwater, like a baby, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, that's also another thing about this. I'm not the only one who felt it was like they were going for the EU extended universe of Star Wars with the sort of gray Jedi feel that they definitely were going for.
Rebels had the prophecy of the Greys, though.
Yeah.
Rebels had the prophecy of the Greys, but like,
Okay, so it sort of fits along.
There's because the idea of the Greys are the Gray Jedi. What was Qui-Gon Jinn was a Gray.
They had a weird thing, a weird theory.
The Greys were a generation. It came from a teaching of. That's not the reality. This is just your premise, because the idea of the Gray Jedi come from a period like prior to like 20 years, especially prior to A New Hope. That's what was Qui-Gon Jinn's generation.
So it was like lost lore.
Like
we're
there
sort
was
of as well informed of you as you are, Tiamat. I'm just bringing up the fact that they sort of was evoking the idea of the gray.
And then if you go off Rebels, they're using the wills when Ezra counters the wills. The wills
so there is a through line.
There with the wills. The wills.
Galante, our good friend Galante, me and Tiamat have a little group, and I workshopped a little bit of this with them and had them advise me of them. And Tiamat talked to me about a few things about that. But yeah,
the wills, because what you don't like if you never saw Rebels is
I never have.
They come to the planet of the wills have the prophecy of the gray. They don't see the force as light or dark. It is all how it's used.
Yeah, so that does go against the traditional setup of what we know in the Star Wars.
And
universe.
then there's a greater prophecy in the Jedi.
Greater, get it? Sorry.
They get it. There is a prophecy.
Good one. Good one.
By the way, good pun.
We have a
bonus.
friend named
sorry.
Gray Poupe, so
You probably saw
it
in the
also
chat.
works on a couple of different levels.
But he, the idea is, if he was using the wills, and Ahsoka knew of the wills, and the idea, because
Okay,
not
Demon,
this little, yeah, no, but I
you
want
are
to say,
establishing that the gray idea did come from
because I
Rebels.
want to say this too. The last thing I'll say is, like, when you look at like the deconstruction of Star Wars a little bit,
Oh, let's not get into that. Ryan
but like
Johnson definitely
Grandmaster
went through
Luke,
that.
right? The reason why he's called Grandmaster Luke in his own form practiced both sides of the Force, and he reformulated the
In the
Jedi.
extended universe, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he had to like fall to the dark side to a little bit to kill Palpatine. Which
Again, Tiamat, love the knowledge set you have the vast about, but
I know.
we're getting a little off track.
But I
and
will say the
before
Book of
stream-
Boba Fett did not make sense because they want. They
Well,
wanted
you're talking
it.
about the extended universe too, and then the book, there was a book that I read whenever I was like,
He
11,
was
12 years old.
supposed to.
It was-
Boba Fett.
Come
was-
on, let
I will.
Layden.
Oh, it was called, to your point though about the Book of Boba Fett, it was called Tales of the Bounty Hunter, and it told a much more intriguing story about Boba's escape from the Sarlacc, where there was some entity that lived down inside the belly of the thing that he was in communication with, and it, like, while digesting him, like, he leaned into it in a way to activate a thermal detonator, and the whole thing vomited him out, and then Dengar rescued him. It was way more interesting than what they did in Book of Boba Fett. But yeah,
And then he goes on. I'll say this to you, lad, because bear in mind, if Book of Boba Fett was how he established himself as an outlaw, like kingpin, and then went on to take over the Mandalorians, which he did do, and him and his daughter, free real estate.
Yeah, there's also some stuff. We're getting way off base, but yeah, there definitely was a gray feel, and it seems to have precedence. But I will admit, our friend Galente, Gunrunner, brought up that sort of what was brought up in MauLer's video, that you didn't need sort of to know about Rebels to sort of understand that. It was sort of a lie, and I will agree with that assessment. If they said that you didn't need to know anything about it, they failed there. Okay, but as MauLer even brought up in his own video, he has a lot of questions about sort of what happened in between. And there are some things you can't actually fix. What's your thought about the sort of Leia thing? I disagree with his sort of assessment that Leia would automatically condemn. Am I wrong in my perspective? Well, no one's wrong in their perspective. I'm just trying to understand the logic why maybe MauLer would think Leia would not support this renegade general.
I think it's more just, why would she?
Why would
Like,
she
what-
support the renegade general who got people killed?
Yeah, like what does she, like, what relationship does she have with the renegade general that would cause her to do something like that because she's at a higher level within the faction that we're talking about. So whenever,
Yeah, I actually agree that we have no knowledge if Leia would, if you're going into this without Rebels. I'm sure Tiamat can fill us all in on the Rebels, but let's move past that at this point.
Yeah, but I would say too, by the way, in most of the new canon, anyways, they pretty much say that they're going on the premise of, let's say, hypothetically, Rey is the future. This is just think of this concept.
Oh God, let's hope to God not.
Well, let's hope.
They did it horribly in this.
Let's hope that they don't. Let's say the First Order was always the end point. Yes, the New Republic, even in the extended universe, was so bad it eventually formed a new empire, but not as bad as the other. The Galactic Republic did have
Okay,
a hard time.
sorry, Timon. I got the thought in my head.
No, what I was gonna say is, okay.
Timon, let
they
me get
pretty
out
much
my
established-
point. Maybe
Sorry,
we
they-
can
I just wanna say
come
they pretty
back
much
to this in a
established-
bit. Let me
Yes.
get back. I'll get back to this.
Yes.
Okay, perhaps we'll get back to this point. But yes, the sort of MauLer does not know. There's nothing laid out in this Elise story. Supposedly in Rebels, there's some context for it. But in this show, you don't know if Leia would support this renegade general from the sort of opposed to the Senate who's trying to facilitate her. There's nothing in there to really support MauLer's conclusion that Leia wouldn't, except for his understanding of Leia as a good person, a rule follower.
You said there's nothing to support that she wouldn't. But is there anything to support that she would?
No. It goes both ways in that case. And I definitely agree that's probably a flaw in the writing. But overall, yeah. Really comes down to the semantics of it.
There's like 5 or 6 different ways maybe that you could have gotten them out of that situation without invoking Princess Leia, right?
Oh, okay. I'm thinking I'm understanding now. So just bringing up the sort of name of Leia, that didn't need to be in there. Is what you believe MauLer was going with that.
Yeah, and you wouldn't need to send C-3PO to speak for Leia either. Yeah.
Bye, Andrew Clark. He probably just got back from work and going to sleep now.
Love you, Andrew. Have a good night, buddy.
Oh, your buddies with Andrew too?
No. I just met him. He seems nice though.
Wow.
But yeah. Pretty much, yeah, my original stream was just pretty much talking about the tactics. And thinking about...
you're talking about the optics, correct?
Yes, also the optics of it. Tactics, optics.
Tell me more about that. Whenever you say the optics of it, and then you say, well, you're talking from the perspective of a fan.
Okay. I can explain that easily enough. If you want to convince, it's sort of the good faith steel man interpretation. You give the best faith reading you can to what the scenes or what the sort of writer was possibly trying to go to. You can absolutely do that. Give it a good faith reading. Convey the fact that you understand what they were trying to go for in this particular scene, then tear apart all the particular problems with it, then rewrite it. That would be, I wouldn't actually tear into it. There is sort of a subtler way to bring it up, and sort of the montage about all the fans sort of fanning out about, yes, I do understand why he had that to sort of display how immature the fans are in that video. But I think it was rather excessive. He did not, maybe it's just a personal perspective of just overdoing it after a whole, I think it's more on top of everything. I think there is a way to actually do it without the whole question bit MauLer did. Like, what is good about this scene? I would have to rewatch that.
Because some people could find things that are good about that scene. So therefore, you should represent what could be the case. What could be, like you said, the intent of the scene, right?
Yeah. And maybe I even admit myself, I have a very idealistic version of this, and I'm not even saying MauLer is obligated or anyone's obligated to do any of this good faith reading on this. But frankly, I think it's more optically efficient. And yeah, you're not going to win over the hardcore fanboys ever, but you might be able to get a few people to be more sympathetic to your perspective if you phrase it in such a way that fans of the show can understand your concerns with it. It just seems like he's talking like people assume he knows what he assumes people have the same perspective of this as he is. So he doesn't onboard any people who might not share his criticisms and make it palatable for them to understand why people sort of hyping up these scenes that frankly I agree with him are really not up to standard stuff. Is you were going to say something regarding that?
Yeah, I was curious. Like, so you said you've seen Rings of Power, correct? And I assume you're a
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings fan on some level for sure, right?
Definitely respect the original Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
Really wish
Really
I
good
could have
movies.
read the books, but I don't think I had the patience for that. But yeah, the
Really good
original
books.
trilogy.
You should relate it more to your Wheel of Time experience, Vincent.
Oh God. Not get into that. Okay. There's so
My
much
brother
bad.
read the books and he was very much into that. And I he showed me the movies and then I got really deep off into the movies. And you know, one of my favorite scenes was the troll scene in Fellowship of the Ring, whenever the troll shows up. And you know, there's that whole battle where every member of the Fellowship has to, you know, engage this beast, and they all come within an inch of their lives, and it's all just in an effort to take down this beast that's essentially a slave, right? And then in Rings of Power, Galadriel kills a cave troll by herself with virtually no effort.
20 seconds.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I want to quote there. Sorry, I had the flashback of Nerderotic talking.
Okay, Diamond.
No, it's a
We'll
Nerderotic-
accept your flashback.
Sorry.
Continue, Lane.
Nerderotic
My-
had the whole thing. She bested the ice troll in 20 seconds.
She bested the ice troll in 20 seconds. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So my question is, so going from that is, what if we assume the original intent of the person who made that scene, and we say, well, okay, they intended to just show that Galadriel is a worthy opponent of even a beast like a cave troll, and they didn't mean to actually overshadow the skills of the Fellowship. Would we then be able to say, well, okay, if anyone who criticizes the scene of Galadriel is therefore that's bad optics?
That is something to think about. Okay, let me put this in perspective in my mind. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think would be great optics to do a comparison between the two. You can say it's very unrealistic that there's just no stakes in it. It's bad even without the comparison to the original Lord of the Rings. I think the real problem with it is that she does it on her own. They set her up in such a way that it loses suspension of disbelief. And some people are just going to buy into
the disbelief in contrast to your experience with
Yeah.
the troll experience in the Fellowship of the Ring, right?
there's some
Outside of the
people who are-
contrast of that, yeah.
There's some people who are going to treat it, oh, it's just fiction. Anything's possible. But go on, sorry.
I said the volcano to the face wasn't worse enough.
But yeah, I do understand your point. Definitely your previous experience with the series is going to amplify it more.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you saw like the Fellowship of the Ring like troll fight where every member of the Fellowship is being tested to their limits, and then you saw the troll fight where she just owns it in like 20 seconds, it's like Lord of the Rings just can't grow up, right?
No, it's regressing personally. Okay.
Yeah.
The stupidity of I mean, you do bring up a good point. I mean, you would be like, okay, they obviously wanted to have her as this iconic badass, like anything. Why is that so stupid? Do I even need to explain it? Yeah, maybe I should. Okay. And go back to that. It sort of undermines the sort of team dynamic. There's many, many different issues with that, even without the comparison to the Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I see what you're saying. With someone who has the perspective of it feels like very disrespectful to the source material, and the people creating Rings of Power are trying to one up the actual original author, and probably the most faithful adaptation that could have been done for the actual books with something completely fanfic.
They used most of the Cimmerian.
Idealized, yeah.
They the problem with Lord of the Rings of Power was they tried to use theoretically Amazon only had access to the trilogy, which starts with Fellowship.
Oh
But
yeah, don't remind me of that.
they tried to use the Cimmerian, and it turned out really badly.
Yeah, there's issues with
Yeah.
that, but lawyers, I'm sure they
They-
can
they-
work something out.
They try to use a really vague, like very very hard to pinpoint series, the Cimmerillion, which is like, man, it's a very confusing like book and like set of books, and like
It's
yeah,
a
and
bunch
then
of side stories shoved into one book.
Mm-hmm.
And you
And
have
then-
like the new, not to cut you off, sorry. You have
No,
the
no, you're fine.
Numenorians. They tried to touch on the Numenorian period. Those are the race of half-elf men who are long-lived men, but they're not immortal. And then how Saruman basically came in, corrupted them. And you could say that's the problem with that show. They tried to adapt the Cimmerillion that almost got them in trouble. When they looked at the script, it came out, they go, this is not what they agreed to. But the Tolkien Society or the people who manage the estate were like,
Yeah,
you're idiots.
I brought up the sort of expertise that people wield to sort of make everything okay. Even
They fired that expert too. They initially, their initial expert who they brought in,
the person they touted out as token experts, given the green right, that this adaptation of it. But yeah, I came up with Timon, I came up with, let me keep this in my mind, how you could actually explain that sort of thing to onboard new people. You understand people who are just into Rings of Power, be like, yes, this was excellently displayed. It really shows that she's strong, fearless, and she tired out her men. I guess that's a flaw. So a good point there. But then somehow she didn't get any backup. They're trying to set her above. Yeah, she's an elf, mystical, chosen one, like feel. Let's not talk about how that's really not established, how she's earned it or anything. Okay, let's just go with that for a minute. You have to take in perspective of long-term fans who pretty much explained what you did, how this would feel demeaning to fans of the original trilogy, and how the Rings of Power would seem pale in comparison to that. You could just lay all that out and be like, okay, I understand what they were trying to do here, but what good would have that done? At best, you're trying to put this one woman on a pedestal and
it's like whenever you like, oh, man, I played with action figures a lot whenever I was a kid, probably more than I played with like computer games for a long time. And man, I'll tell you what, whenever you have an action figure and you like that particular action figure, and then you're like a kid, you got kid brain, and then the next day comes along and it's like, oh shit, well, I got this new action figure. This one's way cooler. Okay, this one's way more powerful than all the other action figures. And so like the one that was the god yesterday just gets trumped by the new coolest action figure of today, and it makes no sense. And that's how Galadriel and Ashoka feel. It's like they're just suddenly got. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely understand that perspective, and overall, I agree. I mean, I don't see her as a god in that particular moment. She just lost a fight. And
You mean
yeah,
Ashoka?
Ahsoka lost a fight within when she was thrown off the cliff and ended up, no matter how stupid you might think the other world is, that she fights Anakin and relives the past. There definitely would be some plausible deniability, at least. That's the term I'm going to use for it. It's not the greatest one, to sort of make the argument that she's at a low point if she's faced this defeat, and she would be in doubt. But that's a Steel Man version of that.
Yeah, no,
And
I understand. That is a Steelman version of that. Like,
okay. And I
yeah,
should
you could-
clarify this going in, probably, that I like to
They
Steel
don't
Man the
explain
opponent.
who Ray. The thing is, what's funny about Ahsoka is Ray Stevenson's character is considered possibly one of the best characters in recent Star Wars, and they don't say anything about him. He just goes in and kind of, even to Ahsoka, like he was a former Jedi, but he's not exactly a Sith.
Yeah, again, the weird gray stuff. I don't know how to feel about it.
But
I think
he
they
will
should just
say
commit it to that.
he
idea.
clearly knows to go across the because the premise I thought was weird about Ahsoka was you're going to another universe to get Thrawn, who's been on the other side of the universe after being abducted by the whales, which theoretically dumb. Sorry, it's dumb. It's Gunrunner polluted that worse because as retarded as those squid whales are looked in Rebels, he called them the whales from Futurama that travel dimensions.
Okay, yeah, he tried to make the comparison that there was something like that in Futurama,
but
the
concept is like at that duel, right? Because he's like, join me, I'm not going to kill you, and he's kind of like a knight style of Jedi. And he actually fights her. He actually fights her and just dominates her. Like she had no chance.
Yeah, bringing back to that point, one of MauLer's criticism is like, why did Ahsoka attack the Padawan? See, the names aren't worth remembering. Balin and Ahsoka are about the only ones that I'm going to commit to memory there, because I really want to Steel Man it, but I don't want to respect it too much.
Her name is Rin, but no.
You mean like the whenever she's running up to the fight when
Ahsoka, I think that was actually some good subtle acting. You could see a little hint of Ahsoka sort of have some concern, like her Padawan lost because she came back first. That would be the assumption. That was my reading of that. So she got angry about that. That's why she pushed her. It was an emotional moment for Ahsoka there. And you don't see a lot of that. And I can understand the argument that it seems unearned that all of a sudden she would have this emotional moment, especially when this relationship between Ahsoka and the girls she's trying to train into a Jedi, even though she has no talent. And I understand why diehard Jedi, Star Wars fan would have issues with that.
I heard something really stupid recently. The throws. It wasn't even a MauLer video. If you really want to know this dumb take, it's okay. Through halfway through Ahsoka, you're seeing like she can't use the Force. Okay, it was just some guy made this example.
Okay, let's not go with Twitter takes.
This is actual thing from a lore. So they may have unintentionally said that Ahsoka, when she was training her years ago, felt if she trained her, she would have fallen to the dark side. So she used a Jedi ability which cut Sabine off from the Force. Why she could not use the Force until the meeting later on when
That
she
definitely would have been a much more better theory to actually
because
mock.
this is actually lore based.
Wow.
She basically cut her off from the Force, so she could not use the Force until a moment in the show where you see her where she's resolving to be like when she goes to lift the starship and stuff, and she can suddenly use it. So she undid that bind. I know that sounds a lot to explain, but bear with it. That's in an in-universe thing, but they didn't explain it. They go, oh, suddenly Sabine and Ezra and them can lift a starship. Because.
I mean, do you think it's that? Do you think it's linked to all of that, or do you think it's kind of like just how when Darth Vader grabbed that ship in Kenobi and held it down to the earth, and it was just sort of like, well, what the fuck? Vader could never do that before.
There's a criticize. Okay, my criticizing of that is Vincent could probably appreciate this. I have really a question. Okay, both of you could probably add both. When was the first time that was officially done?
Wasn't that
Isn't the Force Unleashed when the dude pulled the Star Destroyer down? Am I correct?
Yeah.
yeah,
What's
I was
funny
thinking
is
Rise
that's
of
like
the
the
Skywalker,
most.
but you're
That's like
probably
the
right.
most dumbest. Okay, so
And there is a problem in Marvel, well, Disney in general, and in people in general, the power escalation that I jokingly blame on anime, the power escalation system. They can't come back and do small scale stories. They feel like they've raised the stakes so much they have to keep raising them. That's definitely something that I agree with most critics. They need to come down to a more down to earth story like Andor actually did. You need to bring it back to a down to earth basis.
Well, the thing with the Force Unleashed and how it was originally made is that it was designed to be non-canon.
Okay.
Like like there was the bonus stories where you killed Leia, or like you were a Jedi sand trooper or a Jedi Tusken Raider, like who went into Jabba's palace and like killed all the people there. Like all of it was kind of designed as well. Disney does a thing similar to this, right? Like Legends or something, where it's kind of
that's Marvel. It's Visions.
Okay.
I bring that up also.
Star Wars Visions.
And yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I actually praised Visions, despite some of them being completely ridiculous, like the trigger people with the diactic, the dark force users, the brother and
one
sister.
that actually, believe it or not, of Visions that actually gets a really good one is the black and white, the one that looks like an anime scene.
I know which one you're talking about. I've heard of. I've seen.
It's the one. It looks like the Ronin.
Yeah,
the
a Sith Aimer. Definitely some I can't remember his name. Akira. He did Seven Samurai and Yojimbo Bodyguard. Yes, it had that sort of feel to it.
In really Star Wars Visions of recent was actually not bad, but this could bring into the idea that modern Star Wars is a tinge inconsistent. Some people have their pets. As I said, that's why I said that theory. She cut Sabine off from the Force because she thought if she trained her, she would become a dark user or a Sith, right? That sounds dumb, but the idea is, oh, she didn't tell Sabine. She cut her off from the Force. The show just says, oh, she doesn't have much potential because she doesn't have metachlorians, and then suddenly she can.
Oh God! Let's get into metachlorians. People hated that. That's like, it's not decanonized, but people just conveniently forgot about the metachlorians at some point. and everyone has metachlorians. Okay, there's an argument. It would be great to see Sabine actually develop like small force abilities through just pure hard work. I can't totally disagree with that. The sort of prodigy versus the hard working to raise the force powers. It wouldn't put her at par, but she would compensate with other tricks.
Okay,
like
how
she
do you
did in
guys feel? Okay, how do you feel about they did the way they did Rogue One?
In what
Personally, I
regard?
did not like Rogue One, but I can understand the appeal of it. It wasn't a bad film. I would have to rewatch it to give my thoughts on that.
So whenever I introduce people to Star Wars and they say, well, like, let's go through it, let's watch it, I say, okay, well, let's do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, Rogue One. That's only because I feel like Rogue One actually fills a story that fits within the context of the broader narrative. It's not that it's some amazing, piece of work. More so that it's just like, okay, well, this is how the rest of it should have been. It's like it fits within the context of what we're talking about. It's entertaining decently enough. It doesn't have to have Jedi running around like swinging lightsabers the entire time, reflecting blasters. It doesn't need any of that. And that's that. I liked the vibe that Rogue One brought to the table, but it just stands out weirdly because it was the only one that brought it.
You have the monk too. You have like the guy. He's not a Jedi.
Yeah,
But he's like a monk though, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, if you ever watch Hitman, you're probably a fan of that actor. Yeah, and I loved watching him do that role. Yeah.
okay.
That's why I bring that up, because like most people don't think it is bad. People were thought like, oh, maybe that's going to be related, but you realize they also all die, and it does that little fill-in story of how the plans actually got to the rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It fills in like a gap that makes it. You can watch episode 3 all the way to the end, and then watch Rogue One, then watch episode 4, and just be like, okay, yeah, that story meant something to what I'm watching right now. And like to that, I give it credit. And it's not like so cringy and like so off base that I just want to skip it whenever I'm showing people Star Wars who haven't seen it before.
And plus, it makes more sense than the original line of a bunch of Bothan spies and other people died to bring us these plans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say George Lucas was the best writer. I mean, it gave more of a reason. It was more than just Bothan spies and people who died to get the plans. So that's why I bring that up. Like, that's weird. Visions is side stories. I mean, that made sense. But Ahsoka is that weird one. It's like, it's just that weird. It's just strange.
It's kind of a side story, and it's kind of not a side story. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, bear in mind, Rebels was done that way too. Because if you think about it, like Rebels, you like go, oh, this is supposed to be, they're supposed to be alive during the rebellion. Why didn't they show up?
Yeah, that was one of MauLer's criticism. They don't fill in the gaps
They're not
well
canon.
enough.
They're not really super canon. They're like, oh, they were there.
And one thing I do like about Ahsoka is you do get to see why possibly the Senate or the powers that be are stupidly are have the attitude, no matter how retarded it is. It's frankly, I agree that they should hell getting Ahsoka out of the actual universe should have been done much sooner. Maybe this should have been a prequel or something. But yeah, there is a lot of issues to the world building, but that's caused by all the sort of other stuff like The Force Awakens one of my biggest criticism of that is how the hell is the sort of politicians of the New Republic stupid enough that they didn't root out that. And you sort of see that in the senators you see in Ahsoka, why they're so foolish. They justify, no, we're not going to waste to do that.
It's like we're
It
not
could have
going to
act-
waste. It's like they're not going to waste the. So like I think it was like weird. I saw it in the criticizing of the Mandalorian, right? Because the strange thing is, when you look at the world building of Mandalorian, it's not that it's awful. It's like, let's like when in Ahsoka, they go to the shipyards. Why are we deconstructing these Imperial starships? We could be using them. We could be repurposing them.
Yeah,
It's-
that is actually intelligent writing.
They also were like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to get rid
That
of it.
is a good piece of world building that I could have respected. So
They're
there's a
like-
lot of things about Ahsoka that if you acknowledged the sort of value that it has to Star Wars, I think you would come off much better.
Because like
Yeah.
Hera,
I agree. Like there's definitely things about Ahsoka that if you acknowledged it, it would make things better. But
Yeah,
in
a lot of the
contrast-
stuff.
in contrast to
on.
how good things could be, if there were people in charge of the IPs, if there were showrunners of now, I guess they're going to implement, like it's things that would have so much more meaning to them now. It's like your ex that fucking cheats on you 3 times and then tells you she loves you. It's like, well, as much as you could believe that she loves you, it's like you're just basing it off of these other 3 times that she's cheating on you. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of this false hope that's presented with Ashoka in the broader context of Star Wars. Yeah, it's like the best of a shitty thing.
Yeah, I will agree. It's like people commenting, like the one person who was in that stream saying, "Why am I defending Ahsoka?" I'm not really defending Ahsoka. I'm talking about sort of what I believe to be the tactical misgivings of the optics of that MauLer video. When I know he can be much more conciliatorial, or at least put it in such a framing. The juxtaposition, I'm going to keep saying that, between the really great things about Futurama and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, opposed to the horribleness. If he would have just led slowly into the good elements of Ahsoka, like I like this and this and this, talk about what's good, and then go into his little rant, I wouldn't have had much of a problem. Optically, it would have been much better to lead into those sort of elements.
So okay, I'm going to defend MauLer here.
Okay, please do.
If you were going to make that type of video, I think the right thing to do would have been to label it that you would have labeled it Ashoka, an unbridled whatever review, or just because if he does a rage, he'll say one thing. If it's the other type, he'll say the other thing. But there's just Ashoka, and then here's my opinion of it. But to me, that was never the context of the thing that we were hearing. To me, it was Star Wars cannot grow up, and we're not about to hear about the good things of Ashoka because Star Wars just can't grow up. This is a rant about the negative things.
okay. See, hypothetically, bear in mind, I would say too, because whether it's the sequel trilogies or a little bit of when you get into even Legends and the Legends and EU lore, there is, as I said before, right? The Galactic Republic was a little bit kind of dumb. Because if you go look at it's like the Heir of the Empire series. So if you're familiar with the Era of the
Horrible.
Empire, they take. So this is before the Yuzan Vol invade kind of idea. If you're familiar with any of Legends lore, Yuzan Vol.
Okay, Timon, as normal. Yeah. You
I just
have a
wanna
lot
say
of
they-
interesting
I wanna
points to
say
bring
they
up, but
just
you're getting
do-
us way off of
So they
track
make
here.
the Galactic Republic seem very dumb because they take a device. They take a device which could have helped them at some point, destroy it multiple times. Like they have like 2 super weapons. They're like, these are going to fall into the wrong hands.
Okay,
Destroy it.
Timon, how does this have to do with sort of
This
what
goes back
MauLer-
into. This
I
goes back
like it.
into.
I like his far left field takes. Honestly,
Yeah, they are
It starts
interesting.
far left field, but it brings you back to center. Yeah. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
it takes some time. Okay, go on. Sorry.
So they make, because there's like this 2 examples in there. So it is whether or not it's not that the Galactic Republic was grossly incompetent. They just choose, like in the Disney universe, they're very grossly incompetent. They're like, we're going to have rebel spies. This has been established post their 1, whether it be Mandalorian, whether it be Book of Boba Fett. They said, well, we're not going to completely dismantle the Empire. We are going to keep them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, crap. So all roads lead to the first order. Congratulations.
Yeah, they're sort of forced into it. I actually like MauLer's deception of just resetting completely. Okay, that I can actually 100% get in by. Just decanonize the sequel trilogy and just be like, we're just redoing everything. Fresh start, okay? Fresh new story. They decanonized. Well, I don't know if the extended universe was ever.
To be fair, the what's funny is the World Between Worlds there was a rumor. They were going to say the World Between Worlds is what Palpatine apparently had until Ezra kicked him out of it. That the sequels could have been just a Force vision of the future. Potential.
Ow. Okay, well, sheesh. But
That's actually really dumb. That would have been the worst way to erase Rey, but it could have been done.
Yeah, just wipe him out, okay? Okay, that's my thought process. I do agree with that assessment.
The only competent assessments I've ever heard of like the modern day situation with Star Wars, it's like how the fuck do we fix it? The only like competent assessments I've heard of always involve, you got to get rid of the sequel trilogy. Like you got to nuke the whole thing, and you can keep maybe some of Disney Star Wars, but like there's no way.
I mean, that isn't the only competent one. And or moving out from the Jedi or moving further in the future are all plausible options, but doing what Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and if you want to do those sort of shows, yeah, you got to reset things, okay?
Yeah, like you gotta give people you gotta foundate the character in like what it came from and not some new thing. Like it's so weird. Like I don't really get it. Like on a certain level, like I don't see how you can start with the character of Boba Fett. Like the character of Boba Fett, I've had in my head since I was watching Star Wars on cassette tapes to now. Like I don't understand like how you can take that character and then come out with like someone who wants to be the mayor of Mos Espa. Like it's so fucking weird. Like,
okay, I completely agree, and why I don't totally agree with the anti-SJWs calling everything woke. It almost seems like they're trying to demasculate and sort of make a fool out of the once fearsome Boba Fett with this stuff.
Would it have been really bad if they really tried to say, oh, they went from the idea of the side books, even if they were side adventures, to say this is eventually how Boba Fett takes back over the Mandalorians, and he basically recreates them to a degree. Because even in EU, that's what he does afterwards. He finds a way to escape the Sarlacc pit and says, well, shit, I'm not going to be a bounty hunter all my life. Eventually, him and his family, they take over what's left of the Mandalorians and unite them under one banner.
There are ways they could have gotten Boba Fett to the person who wants to, be an advocate for another group of people. But I just feel like they could have done that through things that didn't involve him becoming enslaved by the Tusken Raiders. Like there's so many things they could have done where it's like you could have made him this person by another means that isn't enslavement. Like it's so weird. But I agree with you on a certain level. There's a way you can get to that Boba Fett. It's the way they got him there and like how forced it felt. Like it's like it reminds me of like a cowboy western where like it's kind of like an anti-western where the cowboy, instead of like saving the
gets captured by the Indians.
Gets captured by exactly. It's like a cowboy that gets captured by the Indians that then becomes like involved in their religious practices that then comes out of it and kills people that kills Indians. And it's just like, this is so weird. Like I don't get it in context of Boba. It's like
I did not actually watch Boba Fett, but that sounds like they tried to Dancing with the Wolves. Sounds like they were trying to rip off Dancing with the Wolves.
It just it's like it would have made perfect sense if it was someone who wasn't Boba Fett. Yeah. If it was someone who was just like a normal person, if it was just like a normal guy who got dragged out of his household into that situation, yeah, sure, it would have made perfect sense. In context of Boba Fett, it's like, it just makes no sense. It's like I don't understand where the character went. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you definitely put the perspective of MauLer, and I definitely can agree with a few points. You put a lot of that more into frame. As I said, I was just finding something to do, and I really think my title is, I don't think MauLer would respect these people leaving these comments. I was just going to have some fun and make fun of them a little bit, but I tried to squeeze a little bit of serious stuff out of here.
Do you want to read a few more of the comments?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Finish that off. I meant. Okay, let's go with this. I find it funny they keep saying this is a video. Does that seem so stupid to you? It's clearly a stream.
What,
like dear Lord, dude, this is your first video ever. Really try to listen to it while you're playing a game, but it seems like someone was having a stroke more than actually developing points.
I like when they go for the owns. It's kind of like YouTube of old.
I mean, yeah, these are funny.
2016, where they go for the owns, and it's like, this guy's dumb. Like.
I mean, I'm not affected by any of this. I just find it funny, the sort of activity of it. And
well, the dude's not making any sound points at all. Like all he's saying is that it's worded in a way that makes him feel bored. And it's like, well, you're not actually addressing any of the things that are actually talked about. You're just saying that someone can make the most convincing argument ever, and I could just say, well, yeah, but your argument is boring. And it's like, well, like that doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, and definitely my internet connection struggled with this. There were so many problems with this particular stream because, yeah, I've learned my lesson. Do not do morning streams. Both my internet and myself are too slow to deal with.
Wasn't this a stream I had to point out that your audio decided?
Yep, the audio fucked up also. You struggled so hard to actually talk. It almost felt like watching the so-call all over again with all those long pauses between words. Yeah, pretty good. This one actually is pretty good. No doubt watching an 8-hour-long EFAP on this video would be more entertaining than I don't really think MauLer would put himself down to this level. Like, MauLer's coming for you, dude. So let me tell you, based on the quality of your arguments and content, EFAP guys will have a lot of material to work with. I think my argument's rather simple. Maybe I overcomplicated my argument in reality. I think.
Look,
I
let me
think
run
it's
down
like,
my
I don't feel like this guy's restating your argument in a way that actually matters. Like if
Yeah, I'm
someone's
not
gonna
actually.
talk shit to me, yeah, it's like you just gotta you gotta actually restate my argument in a way that actually matters. Yeah.
Okay, make sure
let
you
me,
understand my argument.
I think it's what's funny to me is some people who leave comments in comment sections. They're like, "Let me report back to my streamer daddy when my streamer daddy comes and gets you."
Yeah, your
Okay.
streamer daddy
exactly.
doesn't care. They don't care about you, okay? So I said MauLer
Yeah.
probably doesn't want people like this in his community.
What
I
is
can't
the-
see why he would.
What is the general
It's-
consensus that most people say? Because if you don't, what is like the quartering accused of half the time? He sends his people after his audience.
Being an idiot.
Well, besides that,
That's what I usually hear about the
his
quarter.
audience usually, right, is like, "Oh, I weaponize my audience." I don't think MauLer weaponizes his audience.
No, he does not try to weaponize his audience. I'm not even saying that with this.
I know.
I'm just I just wanted to do the stream to sort of laugh and try to abstract something out of there and see if anyone would come on to talk about what it particularly was so horrible about my video. I'll even admit there was a lot of factors working against this stream. Even a recut of it probably wasn't the greatest. But you know what? People take these YouTube videos way too seriously sometimes. Bro, if I was you, I'd just quit, or better yet, delete this video. Do you think they're really trying to actually harass me offline? I'm just wondering.
Honestly, man, like it's like I came on here clearly on like the opposition side of this whole thing, but I take an attitude about this like it would be so stupid and boring if everyone agreed about everything. And
Yeah.
I love it when people present like counter opinions to things that I agree with, and like I like talking about it. And like you're not in any way unreasonable or putting forward points that are unreasonable. I don't even I hate it when people say like,
And I think it gives
MauLer
EFAP
would say
fans
this,
a
MauLer
bad
would say
name.
that.
Okay. Fans like this definitely give, and I even give the concession. It's very conspiratorial. In the beginning, I qualified that this could just be a whole bunch of weirdos who are so obsessed with MauLer that they're pretending like they're MauLer fans to harass, air quotes, people who talk about MauLer. But as I said, that's very conspiratorial. But you got to put that contingent out there sometimes.
I think what it is whenever you have a fan base of like, what is it, 400, 500,000 people, you're going to have those weird eggs who are like, maybe 15, 16 years old that can't quite regulate their emotions. And, the only way they have to describe it is Star Wars, so that's how it's going to come out.
Yeah. And also, I definitely am trying to sharpen my argument. I'm trying to listen to EFAP critics, like I talked about. Do you know who Doomer Media is?
I've heard of Doomer. Doesn't he do the editing for a lot of their videos?
No, I don't think he does. But he's
I've heard
been a
Doomer
bear
in
on
there.
EFAP. Okay. The fan base, a lot of the problems Doomer has is with the audience.
Really?
And if you listen to Southpaw, he lets the audience he
I
lets the
was
audience
super curious if
color.
you heard about the Southpaw Terrier thing.
Yeah. Ultimately, I agree with Southpaw that EFAP's criticism of Terriers was off point. But he also really had
Don't you
bad
feel like his
optics.
reaction was off point?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll admit
like,
that his reaction was way too bad. But I think
I-
that was also encouraged by SK. That is my theory on that.
What do you mean?
If you keep up with someone you shouldn't know about, just
Okay.
There
He's
are
sort of-
South Korea.
there are certain sectors that we both deal with that people it's better off they don't know.
Yeah.
Because what I have found is, so I've always been probably since, see, I knew of Vincent prior, right, to when we worked together and then others. But I say this as I'm usually the outside of the fandoms, but yes, I know every fandom always has their extremities.
Yeah, and how you deal with them. I mean, that's really complex to actually go into how you deal with a fan base and your responsibility as a creator. And I don't pretend to know about it, but I can at least.
In my opinion, you shouldn't have any real responsibility as a creator. Like if you're making ideas and you're putting
I mean,
ideas out
there
there,
is a certain thing if you point them in the direction and hint at them, like Synthetic Man. Okay, if you were around for
Yeah.
that art. But I like to challenge
one.
my ideas. I even have a video where I go over Smut Boys, sort of oh, that was a horrible clip of trying to make accusations against EFAP. I went over that with a Synthetic Man fangirl. That was interesting. I like to broaden my perspectives on these things.
Hi, Jad. How are you? You show up really random.
Oh, yeah, I'm up to date on that.
So, I mean, the whole thing to it is I'm more familiar with more dramas of the past than I let on. So, I am of the,
I
if
really
that-
think all this drama around the parasocial relationship just sort of hurts the sort of arguments going out there. It does definitely affect the creators, and the creators affect it.
Do you feel like the fans do you feel like do you remember Count Dankula's Nazi pug incident?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you feel like what people would say in the comments are more representative of what was going on with the Nazi pug or
No,
the actual video? Yeah.
Not at all. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I remember that whole like little story, and it's even back if you go become one of the communities where I come from. Like I kind of knew more about when you look at certain crap like that going on, and it's more or less like it seems weird because what comes off as good drama. Like this comment section, when I told Vincent about this, comes off as like childish, but then again, YouTube comment section of old used to be far more vicious than this. If you were around then,
Oh yeah, I remember.
it's used to be. It was like made Reddit look tame.
Yeah,
So,
I remember the Kumite. And all that
So like,
Yeah, drama, blood sports sells. I'm not going to deny it. And it gets a certain fan base, and they probably gravitate and try to infect their fan base is. But yeah, going back to the Count Dankula, the comments. Now, if Count Dankula was encouraging people to do Nazi salutes as a joke, just do it. Go. I'll teach your dogs to make these guys the Jew jokes and other shit like that. I think he
Right.
would have the responsibility then of sort of spreading that, but just doing a sort of a stupid thing with your Nazi dog and having the government come on you for hate speech, that's fucked up. Okay.
So, would you feel better if MauLer were to make a video and say, "Hey, I disavow all these comments that say Ahsoka is a shitty show without any merit. It's actually a shitty show with some merits." Like, would that be the
That's
thing?
not really what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for just being like pretty much being rhetorically effective, optically effective, and trying to say it's not all bad, but where it is bad, it really destroys it. The sort of perspective there. And as for the fans, I don't think he has any responsibility of try to tell them don't harass other people. That much should be obvious. I think they're not the best with it. Rags is probably a better source of that sort of attitude within the EFAP
I have
community.
watched, what should give you an idea maybe later is, I have watched, because some of this group likes to delve in pain. So I was forced to watch, normally out of sheer morbid curiosity, MauLer went on to talk with Destiny about how to deal with the. They were both talking about the Hassan React meta, and
yeah, it's one of my most popular videos. Yeah,
he was like, "This was, I don't think, one of his big ones. This is one of his side he put out later." MauLer goes, "This, hey Destiny, let's talk about the whole. This will be how." During their talk, this will be how we're probably each going to formulate our opinions. And MauLer's like, this will be my opinion going forward. I'm like, okay. So I get through part of the video, and then I am like, this is painful.
Yeah, it really the sort of going through the meta, talking about how to the meta discussion of how to effectively criticize, how to communicate with people is going to lose a lot of people because frankly, it's hard to make that really interesting to talk about. So I do understand making these videos like he does. It's just he comes off also a little mature, harping on the fans, but it also coming back to this. I shouldn't judge. I was actually going to come around to a point, and we are going to finish up at some point, but this is a very enlightening conversation. But so, MauLer and EFAP have fans like this, correct? You know, they're toxic and shit. You agreed with that? And they are not a representative of EFAP as a whole.
Yeah, everyone has these fans, yeah.
And bringing it back to the point about Star Wars, which MauLer highlighted in that. Do you think that's a representative of the people who like it, the people he highlighted in his video rather extensively?
The people who like what now?
Ahsoka. Fanning out on Twitter about Ahsoka that MauLer highlighted in his video.
Do I think these are people who genuinely like Ahsoka?
Or toxic about how positive they are about Ahsoka. I'm trying to draw the comparison.
I mean, can you be toxic about how positive you are about something?
Yeah, I really believe there is toxic positivity. You just ignore everything. You just ignore all the flaws and be like, do. Everyone who says anything bad is just a Nazi or just a hater. That's just as bad as the haters.
Okay. So what you're saying is that kind of like how you're trying to steelman the situation from your end. You're saying you feel like MauLer didn't properly steelman Ashoka.
Well, he definitely didn't steelman many points of it. I'm trying to go into another point to draw the comparison. This is sort of a meta stream also. But maybe I didn't even realize it. The sort of comments, the MauLer fans, I'm assuming they're MauLer fans who commented rather negatively. I'm trying to draw the comparison between the fans. Let me actually bring up the actual video. Okay. Oh, yeah. Communication is hard and it is late about it. It is late and I need to bring this up. But yeah, so we were talking about you don't think MauLer can really police. And would you say he does things to encourage his fans to sort of have this sort of toxic attitude and harass people who create bad videos on him?
I do not believe MauLer has ever, in my experience, encouraged people to harass other individuals. But I do feel like just through explaining your opinion in the most authentic way possible, you're going to inevitably have people that misconstrue that opinion in their own extremist way.
Okay, that's fine. So let's switch that to Disney. By them trying to use fan service to give the fans what they think the fans will enjoy and sort of create these sort of you've probably seen these fan compilations of all these cringy people reacting to Ahsoka episodes in those moments. Have you seen any of those videos?
I mean, I saw that guy cry to the Rise of Skywalker trailer, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
The crying scar. Now, I will say this: when you look at a lot of strange stuff, whatever it's on both sides or the other, like I've seen people steel man positions, like that you don't think they do it, but it's like, to me, I would rather judge a piece of media because I don't go into a show like it's bad because, let's use an example, the D&D film that came out last year. Reviews said it was going to be woke, like they were going to demasculinize the male character, etc., etc. People saw
Your
it.
tangents, Tiamat. Keep going. I'm still looking.
So they said it was bad. They're going to demasculinize the main character.
They said it would be bad. It could be bad potentially.
But the director's like, we're going to do it. But what came out of it is people who saw it gave it good reviews because they did not. They said, and apparently the reviews lied. And that's usually a rare exception or to an extreme. And that movie went on to have a second life and picked up in week 2 and week 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Didn't the similar thing happen with Arcane? Like it came out and it had like a lesbian like lead kind of thing, but then the story turned out to be really good.
People loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just bring that up as like, when people, I can get why people go after people who review shows, or like I had my own doubts because about certain stuff, because like if I see something weird in a trailer, I'm going to be doubtful of it. Like I personally,
What do you mean by something weird?
Well, the best example is I sometimes take part in a stream called Thinkers, and they were going on just about the trailer of our friend Andrew Clark, who actually got to start like you doing clips from EFAP at the start. And he was just going on about the Madam Web, I think, the Spider-Man thing, the weird.
I
can't remember
about the female counterpart to Spider-Man.
No, it's not a female. No, it's not a female count. Well,
he kept going into theories about based off of the trailer, and they're all fun and stuff, but he could be way off base. And he's definitely a big MauLer fan. Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. If you found it, it's like when you look at a trailer. Like me personally, I turned out to be rather wrong about the Dune remake. I thought they were going to. They gender swapped one of the main characters. They also made Shawnee not a redhead. And I'm like, they're going to ruin this. And like, it's Dune is to high fantasy is to sci-fi. Like Lord of the Rings is to high fantasy.
Probably not agile. Yeah. Okay. I want to finish up
I definitely know what you mean.
We don't have the whole night. This is sort of what I want to highlight, how MauLer goes into this. It's a little sped up.
It's like people ignored everything that set this up, and then they hyper embellish what this actually was to compensate for the desire to love Star Wars.
He made
Can I say though that Hayden
to be in that
Christensen
content position with the wonderful franchise at all
in
costs?
Star Wars, at least dual-wise.
Yeah, but you get the gist. He intersperses all these fans overreacting to the simplest stuff in Ahsoka. And I agree, it's complete and utter cringe.
So do you feel like it would have been better if he had put more accurate like fan reactions in there? Like
I mean, I don't even know how representative of this he was.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Yeah, have you seen YMS's review for The Lion King?
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched
Lion King
that.
2019.
Though.
You know,
Yeah.
like Pride Rock and like that guy.
Yeah,
like the guy.
I'm not a big fan. This is why, for the sort of the discussion I'm trying to set up, why I have all those timestamps. I'm trying to put together a video representative of each of their points eventually for them to sort of discuss. So I would rather not actually use the video if they have enough, but sometimes having video references to pull up are good to have. But that's besides the point. Yeah, I got a pro YMS fan to talk to, strangely enough, Andrew Clark, a pro EFAP fan, to sort of bridge that divide between how they believe the YMS person to discuss it with the EFAP fans. They would both steelman each other's position and sort of get into the nitty gritty of that to help broaden the understand of conclusions. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but that's my aim of trying to set up that sort of a discussion between EFAP fan and YMS fan.
Wait, you're talking about like the critical drinker incident?
Oh yeah, over the critical drinker. This is why I have the timestamps. I'm trying to set up a discussion to sort of discuss. I'm going to be the neutral party in it.
I did a 7.5 hour like supercut of that stream,
which I have plenty of timestamps on.
Yeah, that one, like that stream never because whenever I go through cutting stuff, like I'm always trying to get rid of like stuff that's like off topic and like out of context, and like man, they very rarely like left the actual thing they were talking about, which is very rare.
I mean, it's definitely a good discussion between the two, but there's definitely some negative sentiments between EFAP fans against YMS. I don't know if that's fair or not.
It's a political bias thing, I feel like, almost necessarily.
Yeah. So I'm trying to. I recently I wanted to come back to that because I've defended and criticized Critical Drinker also. Overall, I think he's a greater positive good, but I can see the problems what certain people have with him. So I just wanted to set up a sort of a discussion between people.
I would love to, I mean, I don't know if you have one for the other side, but I would love to take the critical drinker side of that thing. Yeah, if you wanted me to.
Yeah, I'm always looking for more people to discuss. You seem like a very reasonable person overall. But the point of this is, given how harsh he went on Ahsoka, to bring up the sort of, I would call this toxic positivity, the sort of just consume attitude, which definitely is out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like, are you saying that's not the norm?
I'm just saying, I'm trying to draw the comparison to the sort of negativity MauLer has. You don't think he can really stop that from translated to his fans? Do you think Disney has more responsibility for creating content that people won't fan out over? I haven't fully.
It's not that Disney has the responsibility to make content that fans won't fan out over, because fans are going to fan out over whatever the hell's on the TV, right? Like they're going to fan out.
Do you think they encourage people to consume the lowest grade content?
Yeah, they've made people accept like complete slop. Yeah, okay. I feel like that personally.
Okay. I'm just trying to draw a comparison that they complete slop, and I don't think by just bringing up all the negative qualities, just the sort of mirror image of what Disney's doing and why it's why there is a power dynamic. MauLer's fighting against this huge.
Can I propose something? This is a theory I have. Maybe you two could help me with this, because sometimes I'm thinking.
Probably not, but go on ahead.
Is there a... Okay. Is the problem consumerism? By consumerism, I mean the consumer just consumes the media or consumes what comes out. Or is it the people not paying attention to the source material when they get a hold of an IP or a story, causing a decrease in the recent, or let's say last decade, in your guys' opinion?
I'll let Leighton take this first.
Yeah, like I don't feel like the problem is consumerism, because I feel like consumerism is just human nature, like on a certain level. Like,
Byproduct.
but I do definitely feel like the what the consumer consumes is at the hands of the person who understands the canon. So the responsibility isn't so much on the consumer. The responsibility is on the person who understands the canon to relay the information to this consumer correctly, so that they can consume the correct amount. But like it's like, but if you make something too sugary, you're only going to attract people who are into sugar, and you won't attract people into, things that are salty.
So the mass market, you would think I should say it, there's also some part of it too, because with consumerism, I should also input, it's kind of like the broader marketplace. Broader.
Yeah, I will generally
but
agree with that. That is on the creator of the property.
Yeah, I feel like the consumer, like the consumer part of it is the broader part, you say?
Well, mythical wider market is the term I was thinking of.
Okay,
Yeah, he was asking if that was the primary, and I think we both agree it's just really a byproduct of what they're doing.
Yes.
It's more the fandom's sort of blind devotion and not seeing any of the flaws, which slowly, it definitely seems to be slowly wearing off Disney magic. The goodwill they built up over many years, they're just wasting with bad decision after decision after decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the most disappointing examples of wasted potential I've seen in my life.
Yeah. And why I'm not holding MauLer to the same standard. Him sort of taking the opposite approach, seeing this solely in a negative light, is just why it's power dynamics. Why I hate power dynamics talk, but there is a certain place for that talk. Why he doesn't have the mainstream approach. He's taking the opposite stance, but essentially he's just doing the reverse of what it's much more complex than that, but it's doing something very similar by not actually looking at the media and acknowledging what people could be latching onto that's letting them consume all this sweet shit. Because
right, but
until you can be like, get the scientific studies for tobacco to say, oh yeah, this is going to cause cancer, till you get that sort of information out there, people are just going to blindly smoke their cigarettes until they get cancer. That the sort of comparison I'm trying to draw, as badly as I'm probably putting out there.
So let's say, okay, you know that cigarettes cause cancer. You know that cigarettes can lead to
we know that disease. Now, hindsight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since we know that now, should we make advertisements that say, well, don't smoke because it's guaranteed to lead you to lung cancer, but if you do smoke, just know it's gonna, like, if whatever stress you have, you're gonna feel a lot better about it. You're gonna, you might actually feel better about the stress, but just know that even though you feel better and you have less anxiety.
Isn't that why it's weird?
I picked a horrible example to use.
Okay, so what's funny is
fair enough. Okay, you got me.
There's a reason, by the way, you don't see, like, when you started seeing the cigarette ads start getting phased out, like, versus the lawsuit. They're like, they knew it caused, but you saw the warning in the late tobacco ads. This may cause lung cancer. But
yes, but I'm talking about in. It is a horrible sample because you turned that way around on me.
I'm
Touche,
sorry.
man. Touche.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
it's not a
But
good example.
just the concept of it in the public when all this research and study. I'm not saying Disney is life ruining and cancering, even if it does create some of the fandom to become cancerous. But the same point of if you're trying to prove that something causes cancer, you need to have the sort of elements, both like, okay, this is why people like it. Yeah, you can point out the addictive factors, and yeah, horrible
Okay,
comparison there.
let me give you
I put myself down there.
let me give you a little
No,
bit better of an
yeah,
example you two can maybe work from. Can, like just in the commentary, or let's say Vosh and Destiny orbiters, can MauLer create orbiters that therefore create people with toxic opinions that spread out? That
Of
bad
course.
opinion?
Of course. Yeah.
If that makes sense. They create an attitude of critique that echoes from a point, and you know where that point comes from. Does that make more sense, Vincent?
Yeah, it's actually rather succinct, Timon. I'm impressed. Okay.
The orbiters create, because let's say MauLer creates an argument, because it's like with Drinker. I think Drinker started out as satirical, then people started taking him as critique. I can never see him as a legit critiquer, because Critical Drinker videos is him playing a character.
Yeah.
MauLer, if he has an analysis.
Well, just also satire has really lost all meaning. Just because something's satirical in nature doesn't mean it doesn't have an ultimate point behind the satirical humor within it. And it depends on if you're reading it correctly. And there is a weird line with Critical Drinker that I think he is trying to I don't want to say cope with because that has horrible connotations, but come to terms with in his content, since he is definitely satirical in nature and playing a character as you're bringing up, but people are taking him very seriously. Probably why he's doing his sort of podcast now to separate his videos, the seriousness of his videos from how
Is it,
deeply he'll go
his
into it.
after
I think that's a good
podcast?
approach.
Because
Well,
that's how
it-
he does. Sorry.
I was saying it's a lot easier to get a grip on who someone is over like a 2-hour podcast than it is over a 10-minute video, right? Because it's in that 10-minute video, it's their personality like super compressed, and you're going to feel like all of their biases, and you're going to feel like all of it because it's got 10 minutes to get its point of view out. Versus a podcast where it's more spread out and you can correct over time, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's definitely a very effective thing that a lot of people are doing between just their videos and sort of their live streams. You get the real you. It's not always going to be entertaining, but if you want to get to know the ideas and thought process, you'll watch the longer form content. And if you just want the really quick, entertaining thing, you'll watch Critical Drinker's video. His YouTube channel has way more subs than his After Hours program for a very good reason.
And I want to say this too, like with this video that Vincent went over when he showed people in the group, not to give us a little the inside, we both came to like the same thing. This was originally like a 30 or 40-minute video. Like if you as an outsider weren't familiar with MauLer, he goes, oh, Star Wars will never grow up. And he starts off with Futurama, then goes into Buffy. And then you think people's attention span is still there by the time you get to the point he wants to talk about Star Wars. That's not a good introductory video, if that makes sense. You're going to lose your average.
I would agree it's not a good introductory video. But I don't know if it's designed to be.
Because of the size of it, it's just from when I explained it. I don't know if I included much of that. I was hesitant about putting too much of my convo with Tiamon, Andrew Clark, and some loser named Bebo. I hope he watches this. Maybe I'll clip it. Clip
I'm
it,
sure
CD.
Bebo will watch.
Okay. Who knows? This
Are
is
you gonna,
running rather
like,
long.
post our conversation?
Huh? I'm streaming this. Sorry. Should I have informed you?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's fine. But I didn't know if your streams stay up or if you like clip the things out of the stream.
Yeah, I can take this
If
down
you
if you
don't-
want
if
and
there's
edit things
anything
out.
you-
If you have anything
you want, he'll take it out.
yeah.
Oh no, I don't want any. I'd be happy if you just posted everything as it is. That's fine.
I'll leave this up and I'll try to make an edit of this because it definitely had some issues. Always does. Like the whole yeah, I need to go for water. I want to edit that down. I have a I'm just streaming to sort of get practice at streaming. Okay. I don't think I'm
No.
very good at it. My experience over the last few years is mainly making videos. So but streaming's becoming bigger. And I think it's a more honest way to engage with a lot of issues. So, and because I do satirical content myself, I respect Critical Drinker in a lot of ways. Might have some minor criticisms of him, but ultimately I'll defend him overall.
Now, I will say, do you feel as a content creators, certain content creators you've watched over the years, as much as you like them, do you feel they sometimes can become jaded or what they hate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's provable.
Absolutely.
I don't think MauLer feels that way. I think he's riding a high right now. He's starting to talk to Star Wars theory and why they aren't in complete agreement. They're both big fans, and definitely you can feel both of them are like, okay, even if we don't agree, and that's the sort of thing that I like. Okay.
Like they broaden out their spheres because at one point YouTube was very sphere bound, if that makes sense, even later. And if you know what I'm talking about, you would be like, I guess it's because it's promoting. It's kind of like, it's not outside. You see as Gary and Nerderotic talking.
Oh,
now
you're bringing up as.
Now
Okay,
you see MauLer talking with Destiny. He's talking with people from the commentary community.
Yeah.
Like it's but then again, that's why I asked, do your favorite creators, I see my creators grow, they either ebb or they grow, right? Kind of thing. They'll you might have lost your way at some point. Recenter yourself. It's like I used to love Az's older content. Now I feel he's starting to. I felt he started to slip in the last year or two. Like I used to satirically watch Doomcock back in the day. Now I can barely watch him because I'm just like, you're still stuck in the Last Jedi era. The fandom menace is dead. So is your content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you're saying people can become jaded about things that they hate, and I agree for sure. Like you can easily become jaded, perhaps even just from popularity of being jaded on something, right?
But when I was talking to Southpaw, I tried to talk him off a ledge of thinking EFAP is completely evil and all this shit. I'm just like, they're just human beings, and I'm pointing out. Yeah, people influence you. Didn't SK influence you? None of your friends sort of encouraged you to sort of take the stand? Never really got much of an answer. He can be difficult to communicate with. But even if people are difficult to communicate with, you should try to at least give that little bit of charity. And ultimately, why I did the stream, it wasn't anything serious. And this isn't serious. Me sort of going through the comments aren't serious, but it's still something worth discussing and going into. And putting it in public for people out there, even if they want to make fun of me or call me stupid, I find that shit funny. Like, it's not productive to do any of that. And just have fun with the internet.
Yeah,
I'm not putting out any misinfo. I might have that slip. Like, I will admit me putting in the fact that using the evidence of him getting flagged for hate speech, that was an extremely bad way to start that stream off with.
Well, or the fact of you do have the, not to say it, you purposely messing up words just for shits and grins. You do.
Sorry, I must have missed that, but yeah.
But we all have it. It's like even I work with other channels. I'll work with him, and then later.
Yeah, networking. That is the great divide.
That is becoming the popular thing to do.
Oh, that's always been the thing. It's just increasing recently, the sort of networking divide.
And see, I often find when you see, it's not that my critique of MauLer is, I don't mind it because it's like a crowd I came from. Like, I knew of MauLer incoming. I knew of MauLer Revolt before he was, when Rags just...
Yeah, I really like a lot of MauLer's old videos also. I'm sorry, I am disappointed in EFAP and MauLer's trajectory.
You see it change.
I still respect them overall.
See, and I should ask
for maybe
Slayton.
Rags at some certain points.
What's your opinion of the change when creators change?
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I actually have to go. It's like 12:30 in the morning here. I have to get up.
Yeah,
really
it's the
early
same
and go to the
here.
gym
I was
tomorrow.
gonna wrap up. Thank you for joining, and try to friend me. I don't know why you couldn't do that.
He couldn't
No,
find you on
thank you.
Discord.
Yeah,
tried to give him the
the
idea.
friends names that I was getting, like, it wasn't working whenever I copy and pasted it into Discord. But yeah, you can find me just by if you go to my channel. Like, I usually put a Discord link like in well, my streams whenever I do them. I stream pretty much every night, so yeah.
Okay, you're more of a trooper. I'll try to pop up if you're doing something interesting, but I try to
I
keep
never
up
do
with a lot
anything
of people. So, but yeah, it was great talking to you. I hope
it was good talking to you guys. This was a fantastic conversation. Thank you for having me on.
Nice to meet you as well.
Oh, no problem. Anyone who's open to discussion or even debate, I am open to. I think that's the best way to move forward with communication. But yeah, get
Absolutely.
off. Okay, I'm closing off the stream. Plug your channel. I'll try to add that into the description.
It's a laden starfish. All one word. Nice and simple.
Yep. As I said, you have that cut of the YMS debate that you cut a hour and a half out of maybe.
Yeah, that's about all I could get out of it. Yeah, about an hour, and all of YMS is it's like I had to cut out like a fuck ton of that. It was,
I try to avoid those filler words, but it sneaks up on you.
Oh no, no, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. But it's just for editing, it's a hell of a thing.
Yep.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a wonderful conversation.
You are welcome,
for real.
sir.
Thank you for coming on and discussing frankly this. Well,
and keep me in mind in the future. You said you wanted someone to back like Critical Drinker's side in that thing. Like,
Feel free.
I would be happy to do it.
Whenever Vincent.
It's sort of out of my hands now, believe it or not, because I have CT. I'm leaving it to the two people who are talking together. But yeah, I'll try to introduce you. I can probably fit at least one other person. And yeah, having someone talk about being the pro critical drinker in it, probably a lesser part, would be definitely an extra voice that I'll bring up. Okay.
Yeah, I would love to. And yeah,
I suggest,
as you can see from this conversation, I don't bring any shit into any thing. I don't have any real biases or anything. So yeah, by all means.
Well, everyone does have a bias, acknowledging your personal bias and try to move past it is the best we can do, though.
Oh, yeah.
And you do a pretty good job of it.
It's I try to make it tricky for you to figure out. Yeah, but but I do have a bias.
Okay, take care, man, and it's late here, so get some sleep. I understand. I probably should do the same.
Absolutely. I love you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And then stream later, folks.